Hello, good morning and good afternoon, depending on when you're joining us from. My name is Cora Kozic. I'm the Director of Community for Crossref, and it's my great pleasure to host our first part of the annual meeting, Crossref 2025. As people are still joining in through the platform, we're already over 100, so those numbers obviously make me very happy. If everyone can just say hello in the chat, maybe to everybody else, maybe share where you're joining from. I'm based in Cambridge, which decided to be sunny today in the UK. So that's my bearings. And I will be joined in this meeting today by many guests and colleagues from Crossref. So we will be introducing everybody kind of in turn as they join. But for the moment, I just wanted to highlight I'm supported today by Sally Jennings, and she will be there in the chat and in the Q&A, helping out if you have any questions or comments, especially of the technical nature. She will be able to help you out, or at least, will do her best to try. All right, so first of all, as we're embarking on this very rich half day, or first half day of the Crossref 2025 annual meeting. Let me remind us all that we want this to be a safe and productive meeting for everyone. And so I would like to remind you of our code of conduct. The link is now on the screen, and Sally will be sharing it in the chat momentarily as well. So all communication should be appropriate for a professional audience, and of many people of many different backgrounds. Sexual language and imagery are never appropriate in this context, nor is language referring to personal qualities or characteristics or group membership. Please empathize and be respectful of others, be agreeable even if you disagree, and polite even if there is cause to complain. Do not use insulting language, harass anyone, impersonate people, or expose their private information. Be encouraging and include others in the conversation where appropriate and value their contributions. Additionally, please avoid jargon, slang, and cultural references that can exclude others from engaging. Participate constructively. Aim to improve the discussion and ensure that your contribution is on topic and helpful for others. Never post spam or attempt to mislead others. Anyone violating this code of conduct will be removed from the meeting. And please send reports to conduct@crossref.org in confidence, and read more on our code of conduct on the website. So with that in mind, I hope we'll have a very productive day, and this is the agenda for day one. We'll start by celebrating our 25th anniversary, and then we'll have our board elections. We'll talk about a little bit of history of our members and the types of records that Crossref is holding. And I will give you an update on the Resourcing Crossref for Future Sustainability program. And Helena Kazin will talk about our roadmap. We'll then try to have a break and come back for community highlights, hear about updates about our metadata and data science, and that will be the close of day one. Tomorrow, there will be more things to enjoy. We will be celebrating the 25th anniversary, and we'll have different guests to talk to us as well. We'll then proceed to demonstrate tools, have a quick break, and hear updates about projects and programs from Crossref, more community highlights, and we'll conclude with a panel discussion about the research nexus in the real world. So I hope you'll all enjoy and look forward to those. And obviously the recordings will be then available online, as will be the slides. I'm sure someone will ask about it. Okay, so now is the moment of truth. We're going to try and say hello to our colleagues and community members, having hopefully a really good time at the in-person satellite events, kind of when they are watching this live. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second. Sally, are we ready? Can we say hello to Luis and Rocio and others? Oh, okay. We can't find Luis. That's already obviously an expected turn of events. Neither can we see Los here. Never mind. And let's, in that case, try and see if we can find Evans. Yes, Evans is with us. All right. We have Laura Planguma saying hello to us from Spain and others. This perhaps is an event in Madrid. In the meantime, can we unmute Evans? Okay, obviously it's going to be difficult. Never mind. Promote to panelist. Here we go. Evans, you should have received a little pop-up on your screen, and hopefully you will be able to be with us if you accept that.
Hello. Hi, everyone. This is from Nairobi, Kenya.
Oh, hello. You've got blurred screen, so we can't see anyone. But it's good to see some people. Oh, waving.
There, can you? Oh, good. Try. Just a minute. Let me remove the blur, and then I'll be back shortly.
Very cool. Good to see you guys. Are you having a good day?
Yeah, we're having a great time over here.
That's really cool.
There.
All right. Yeah.
Can you see?
Off. Yeah.
This is the team from Nairobi.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Evans. Okay. Lovely. Okay, we've changed Evans's role to attendee, so he doesn't feel like he has to be on the spot in 2 events at once. And we might try to reach out to Madrid later on again. But without further ado, I wanted to invite Ed to start his presentation. So let me share the screen again. Oh, okay. Don't know why this is not liking it now. Ed, would you be able to share your own slides? And in the meantime, I'll figure out why I cannot do it myself.
Yes, certainly. I will do that. Let me just...
Thank you for being so kind.
Start my slideshow, and I will share the window. Okay, hold on.
Yay, we can see your slides.
Yeah, as soon as I go full screen, though, it always pauses. I don't know if anybody has any...
Do you want to try it again? Yeah, okay. I'm actually having exactly the same problem. All right, let's try me. I'm going to try again. No. Well, this is obviously unexpected. Do you want to start speaking, and I'll try to put your slides as soon as I can.
well, I can slideshow here, but then... okay, hold on, just one moment. Hopefully you can get this. All right, I think I've got it now. There we go.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, we are off to a good start. So thank you for bearing with me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Ed Pentz, Executive Director of Crossref, and I'm very pleased to welcome you all to the annual meeting during our 25th year. It's actually our 26th annual meeting because, of course, the first one was in the year 2000. So I'm going to spend a bit of time today then looking back at Crossref's founding, talk about our vision, some of the lessons over the last 25 years, and see where we are today and going forward into the future. But as Cora outlined, today and tomorrow, you're going to hear a lot from Crossref staff, our members in the community, and this will demonstrate the immense and positive impact that Crossref has had and is having on scholarly communications and research. And I think it's important to note that Crossref's success was not a foregone conclusion when we got started. And over the years, there've been a number of points where things may not have worked out, but they have. So I'm going to talk about some of the lessons learned there. But I think a big part of Crossref's success is because it's taken a lot of hard work by a lot of people committed to Crossref's mission and a willingness to collaborate and compromise. So the work that led to Crossref getting created got started back in the late 1990s. It was very collaborative. Journals moved online, and one of the key benefits was to link references. So there was a practical problem. And so a group of publishers got together to solve that problem. And linking between different journal systems was not possible using URLs, or it was possible, but it just wasn't particularly scalable. So a group of 12 publishers got together, nonprofit and commercial, but as you can see the list here, some of these companies that don't exist, they've been acquired through mergers. So you can see some of the history of publishing through that, but they were largely STM and largely European and American, although it was a mix of nonprofit and commercial. And as we review the stats, you'll see that obviously that's changed quite a bit over the years. So you can see this is the announcement in 1999 in November, and then Crossref was incorporated in January 19th, 2000. So it happened relatively quickly. But again, the focus here was just on very simple, wanting to link references and allowing researchers to follow to find the cited reference. And then the service went live in June of 2000. And again, you can see here that there were 33 members at the time. But about at the go live, only 10 members had registered content. It was a few of the bigger publishers. So we started with 1.3 million records from 2,700 journals. So that was a good start, but obviously it took a while to build up. This was the first website, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. It is a little dated now, but you can see here again that we talked about digital object identifiers and registering metadata. But you can see in what I've just reviewed, there was nothing about metadata, the scholarly record, open scholarly infrastructure. A lot of the things that we talk about today were not present back then. So that's a sign of how much has changed. So the approach in the startup phase of Crossref was on solving a practical problem of reference linking, but there was a broader vision. And in the articles of incorporation for Crossref, the mission was stated as to promote the development and cooperative use of new and innovative technologies to speed and facilitate scientific and other scholarly research. So it's broad and ambitious, and this enabled Crossref to grow and expand. And our current vision is embodied in the concept of the research nexus, a rich and reusable open network of relationships connecting research organizations, people, things, and actions, a scholarly record that the global community can build on forever for the benefit of society. So it's broad, ties back to the articles of incorporation, but obviously this covers the whole research lifecycle, lots of different identifiers. It goes beyond Crossref, other DOI registration agencies, ORCID, ROR, and many other things. So we also highlight relationships now, and we want to bring together disparate pieces of the scholarly record. We want to have more information from Crossref publicly available. Multi-party assertions are critical. For instance, we include retraction watch information now. And in the AI-enabled world, evidence provenance and persistence are more critical than ever, but we're not there yet. So we say 60% of this is possible now, the rest is aspirational, and this is what we need to work on going forward for the next next 25 years. So just a quick look at stats. We'll be having more on the finances and the membership in other talks, but I just thought I'd quickly touch on the records that we have, because this is how we track the actual reality of the research nexus. So you can see here, I've just highlighted a few things growing from 2020. You can see the total number of records, but noticing peer reviews have really grown. We've got 834,000 peer review records. You can see grants getting started from a small level in 2020, growing quite well, and number of preprints also growing and picking up speed. So you can see that we've started with books, conference proceedings, journal articles, but it's what we're capturing now is much broader, but we want connections between all these things as well. And so we also capture statistics on the number of connections in various ways. So preprint to article links, again, still a lot to do on that front. We'll be hearing more about some of our matching work, but you can see here that the relationships have grown. Retractions, you can see the big jump here, combining Crossmark data with Retraction Watch to capture that picture of corrections and retractions. And also then for affiliations, the organization identifier, ROR, again, that's been picking up. But I'd like to point out with all of these, you think back to the previous slide where we have about 175 million records. So while these things are growing and doing well, you know, records with ORCIDs at 18 million, that's a long way below 175 million. So I think that helps demonstrate the gap and why we really want to work to fill those gaps. But another milestone in Crossref's development was in 2020 when we adopted the principles of open scholarly infrastructure. These were at the time 16 principles. 22 other organizations have adopted them. It's about governance, sustainability, and insurance, really about openness and transparency. And I'm pleased to say that after public consultation and work among the adoptees, that just last week, version 2 of the principles have come out, and there are now 4 additional principles and some adjustments to some of the other principles based on practical experience. And organizations will be updating their self-assessments as we go forward. So you'll be hearing more about this. We haven't really talked about this a lot yet, but I think the important thing is this really helped Crossref clarify its policies and information about its governance to demonstrate openness and sustainability. So thinking of some of the lessons, I was happy to be awarded the Miles Conrad Award from NISO. I gave a talk in February 2024 that then became a paper and summarized some of the lessons learned over the last 25 years. And I think this is still relevant for Crossref. So to solve collective problems, it takes collaboration and diplomacy. You've got to bring people together, balance their different concerns, and build trust to reach consensus. This has happened with Crossref, many other projects we've been involved with. This has happened with ORCID and ROAR as well, and many other projects. It takes patience as well. Some of these things can require many meetings. Both ORCID and ROAR, it was at least 5 or 6 years before they really got going. Being nonprofit has been essential for foundational open scholarly infrastructure like Crossref. It builds trust. No one dominates too much. We're having our annual meeting. With Crossref, it's 1 member, 1 vote. And we always focus on sustainability as well, but any revenue generation has to be mission aligned. Obviously, commercial services can be very valuable, but I think there's a level of foundational infrastructure that really needs to be nonprofit. Sustainability, obviously, that's critical. you need a surplus to reinvest back into improvements to the service and also to weather downturns. And if you want to see more, you can go to the article in Information Services and Use. So after adopting POSI, we also announced that all references would be open along with all the other metadata. That was another milestone. Nature editorial highlighted the importance of this, but also highlighted that it wasn't enough. And this goes back to what I was saying before about filling out the scholarly record and the research nexus. And they recommended depositing all relevant metadata in Crossref. So we have many members doing well, but we need more, and we need more metadata. And later on, you'll be hearing about a new version, an update to our participation reports, and you'll be able to get more information about the type of metadata that you should be submitting. So to finish up, we want to expand the scholarly record, so the types of metadata, more metadata, but also other things in the scholarly record. You know, we have data, software, indigenous knowledge. There's lots more work to be done. We want to be more global. You'll be hearing about how the organization's changed, but how we're lowering barriers to participation through the GEM program and adjusting our membership tiers. And also just to note that the Global North doesn't have all the answers, and it has a lot to learn. And I haven't had time to go into this, but research integrity is also really, really critical going forward. So you'll be hearing more about that. So with that, I will finish up, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, well, you can stop sharing. Thank you very much. And I shall share a quick little video that we prepared for you today. Hopefully hopefully everyone will find a moment in this timeline that they can relate to. For over 25 years, Crossref has existed as a not-for-profit organization to make scholarly communications better, all to help put research in context, explore our collective history, how we as an organization and our members have established an open infrastructure for research. We run the infrastructure to link research objects, entities, and actions, creating a lasting and reusable scholarly record underpinning open science. Together with more than 23,000 members in 163 countries and counting, we drive metadata exchange and support nearly 2 billion monthly API queries, facilitating global research communication for the benefit of society.
We were founded all the way back in January 2000 with just 12 members. The Crossref system then went live in June to support the collaborative reference linking service. By February 2002, we had 100 members and 4 million journal article records. In January 2003, we started including records for books and conference proceedings. In April 2004, we piloted the launch of Crossref Search, a filtering system that predated Google Scholar, while also achieving the 10 million mark on records with our 300 members. For 2006, we had doubled the number of records from 2004, reaching 20 million records. We also trialed the simple text query form, enabling automated search for DOIs of cited works already registered with Crossref. In February 2007, we held a community meeting to discuss the need for author identifiers, and this discussion eventually led to the creation of ORCID. 2008 was a year marked by innovations. In January 2008, we launched our sponsor program, supporting organizations to act as umbrella facilitators to help smaller publishers get involved. We also launched our Crossref citation plugin for bloggers in February that helped look up and insert Crossref DOIs into blogs. In June, we proudly announced the launch of the Crosscheck plagiarism screening service with iParadigms, now Turnitin. And we accommodated the need to offer different landing pages for the same record with the launch of multiple resolution in August. May 2009 brought about recognition from the Council of Science Editors, with Crossref receiving the Meritorious Achievement Award.
To celebrate 10 years of Crossref, we commissioned The Formation of Crossref, a short history, in January 2010. Together with other community members like Nature Publishing Group, Thomson Reuters, MIT Libraries, and the Wellcome Trust, we founded ORCID in August to help disambiguate researchers. November 2011 brought about the registration of Crossref's 50 millionth record. The Crossmark service started in April 2012, alerting readers to significant changes that may occur to published scholarly content, such as retractions and corrections, and showing publication information. In September 2013, included the first prototype of the Crossref REST API, followed by the official production of Crossref REST API in the summer of 2014. By August, we established a partnership with Wikimedia to support linking on Wikipedia to improve trust and transparency. And in October, we formed a partnership with Public Knowledge Project, PKP, for the development of the first Crossref plugin for Open Journal Systems, OJS.
In October 2015, we launched Crossref ORCID Auto Update, supporting researchers to opt in and grant us permission to make automatic updates to their records. And later that year, we launched our new brand identity, including the new Crossref logo that is so familiar today. In November 2016, we added a schema for members to register preprints. Mid-2017 saw our new website launch, a big design and accessibility improvement. And in 2017, we launched the Metadata Plus service. In January 2018, we convened stakeholders to promote richer, connected, and reusable open metadata with the Metadata 2020 initiative, as well as starting the Crossref Ambassador Program. August saw the launch of participation reports, a public dashboard for each member to show coverage of key metadata elements in their records. And we officially hit 100 million records. In July 2019, Crossref created the grant linking system, which provided an opportunity for research funders to register grants and funding metadata with Crossref.
The last 5 years, we have encountered significant shifts in the research ecosystem and navigated the global pandemic. In March 2020, we officially made Crossmark available free of charge. In April, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we released our first free public data file containing the metadata for 112.5 million records. In December, Crossref's board voted to adopt Principles of Open Scholarly Infrastructure, POSI, a balanced set of 16 commitments that guide Crossref's increasing transparency in governance, sustainability, and insurance. 2021 started with the launch of our new community forum for all things metadata in February to help our community share questions, suggestions, concerns, and tips about Crossref metadata. In March, we announced our first research funder joining the Crossref board, the Melanoma Research Alliance, broadening community governance, followed by the formalization of our Research Nexus vision of a rich and reusable open network of relationships connecting research organizations, people, things, and actions, a scholarly record that the global community can build on forever for the benefit of society. In July, we also began to include Research Organization Registry, ROR identifiers, in our metadata schema. Following the Crossref board vote changing our legal member terms, in June 2022, all references metadata was made open, aligned to the Initiative for Open Citations. In September, we held our first community roundtable about the integrity of the scholarly record. Following on from our inclusion of ROR identifiers in July 2021, we committed to the in-house support of ROR in October 2022. Thanks to the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, we developed an online registration form to help funders register grants in the grant linking system. It went live in December 2022. 2023 started with the introduction of the Global Equitable Membership Program, with fee-free membership for any organization based in the world's least economically advantaged countries. With our commitment to openness, we acquired the Retraction Watch in September to continue to keep the data populated and open, as well as form a more structured link with publishers to register retraction notices with Crossref. In April 2024, Crossref became a supporter of the Barcelona Declaration on Open Research Information, committing to taking a lead in transforming the way research information is used and produced in the application of open scholarly infrastructures like ours. In August, we recorded a staggering 2 billion monthly API queries. In September, in line with our policy commitments and in the move to modernize our infrastructure, we transitioned from a proprietary database to PostgreSQL, an open source one. We announced a new record registration form for journal articles in November to make manual registrations easier.
And in May, we recognized 6 member organizations with inaugural Metadata Excellence Award for the high level of metadata completeness: American Society for Microbiology, eLife, GigaScience Press, Universidad La Salle Perú, Noyan Publishers, and Boletín Geológico y Minero. In July, we announced a major milestone in modernizing our infrastructure, transitioning our core system from a physical data center to the cloud with Amazon Web Services. We had a proposal of a new membership fee tier approved by the Crossref board in July. It will be implemented from 2026.
It's the people that make this happen. Thank you to all of our staff, past but not forgotten, and present. Here are some of us together at our annual meetup earlier this year. We want to say a big thank you to each and every one of you who has supported us along the way, including our brilliant community. You are helping us make a difference. Here's to the next 25 years of Crossref.
I hope everyone enjoyed that, or at least had a time to take a little break. Thank you so much for all the lovely reactions. We're obviously very emotional about this right now. But yeah, okay. So thank you to Ed for sharing how the experience of it has been firsthand. And now I'd love to invite Urooj Nizami, the Associate Director for Community Engagement and Outreach for PKP.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation to speak about both of our organizations. So I'm here representing the Public Knowledge Project and sort of the relationship that we've had with Crossref for over a decade now. The things that I'd like to focus on today are our two infrastructures and their shared vision and values, how we're both independent and interdependent, how we're interoperable and what that means, and in practice, what our collaboration has looked like. Sorry, Cora, it's just if you are able to advance one more. Excellent. So when I say that PKP and Crossref are critical infrastructures for scholarly communications worldwide, I really do mean critical and on par with other public systems that we take advantage of daily, like roads and energy or our postal service. These are the kinds of infrastructures that society depends on, but often takes for granted as they quietly enable processes like scholarly communications to function. And so PKP is first and foremost a research initiative. It develops scholar-led, community-governed, free and open source software for publishing journals, monographs, and preprints that advance quality access and bibliodiversity in scholarly communications. Crossref also describes its mission as running open infrastructure to link research objects, entities, and actions, creating a lasting and reusable scholarly record that underpins open science. Together, PKP and Crossref form part of the connective tissue of the global research ecosystem, ensuring that scholarship is not only produced, but also discoverable and linked, and all of the sort of things that we depend on in these various and diverse scholarly communities. I was very heartened to see that both of our infrastructures really emphasize this idea of a benefit to all that very much underpins the open movement. PKP and Crossref share a global community that depends on our infrastructures to do what they do best. And there's significant overlap in our community and our mission and values. Over the past year, journals using our software grew from 44,000 to more than 52,000, expanding from 148 countries to 161. And we're still seeing strong growth across the Global South. Our platforms at PKP now support over 60 languages, and since 2020 have published approximately 9 million articles. With 23,000 members in 163 countries, Crossref powers research metadata exchange and handles nearly 2 billion monthly API queries, as we've just heard, connecting and verifying research worldwide. So together, PKP and Crossref form the backbone, along with other open infrastructures, of open scholarly infrastructure supporting a more accessible, connected, and equitable global research ecosystem. So I'm very, very fond of the archipelago as an analogy for our shared strength. We are a constellation of infrastructures, institutions, and communities that are distributed yet deeply interconnected. And when you take this view of the archipelago, so these various islands from the water, you see how each island maintains its own sovereignty, yet remains linked through the currents and that connect and sustain them. And that's how I like to think about our collaborations and partnerships. Crossref and PKP work together to strengthen the ecosystem for these distributed islands of knowledge that really depend on us to do what we do best, which is to maintain and sustain these infrastructures. I do feel we're part of the same archipelago. We're independent, yet interdependent, embodying the very principles of openness, cooperation, and shared responsibility that define also the scholarly communities that we serve. So if we move to the next slide, I'm going to continue with this archipelago for just another moment, because I find it to be such a powerful analogy, not just for describing our own infrastructure, but also for expressing what it enables in terms of the scholarly communities that we support. So an archipelagic model allows us to recognize and surface these situated practices within their distinct context, challenging this old notion of a single center and peripheries. Each community, so like islands, contributes its own knowledge, perspective, and strengthens the larger ecosystem. And thinking with the scholar Edouard Glissant, I'm reminded that both PKP and Crossref describe their work as global and for the benefit of all. And in that sense, they exemplify this archipelagic vision, connected through shared purpose, yet grounded in their local realities and the community-led practices that serve each of these distinct communities. Okay. So a key feature of open infrastructure is interoperability, and that's the ability of different platforms and tools to communicate and exchange information seamlessly. And this is a priority for both PKP and Crossref, as demonstrated through our more than a decade-long collaboration. When systems are interoperable, they help prevent fragmentation and duplication, allowing communities to participate in and benefit from the shared infrastructure rather than being locked into these closed and proprietary systems. And as you may know by now, I'm a huge fan of these real-life examples. I feel like they make things more concrete, probably because I now have a 6-year-old who asks me what it is that I do for a living, and I'm finding myself trying to sort of ground what it is in these examples. So on my screen, you see these coffee machines. And we recently moved and all of our stuff is packed away in a pod. So we went to a thrift store and picked up this stovetop coffee maker. But when we used it for the first time, the coffee just went everywhere. And we realized that the problem was a faulty O-ring. But fortunately, we were able to walk to our hardware store, pick up a generic O-ring. It fit into this coffee machine perfectly, restoring the coffee machine's function. And this small act of interoperability meant that that coffee machine remained effective and useful even for its second, third, fourth owners. And essentially, and in part, interoperability is really what keeps open infrastructure truly open, distributed, collaborative, and adaptable over time. So I'm going to shift now from the theoretical to how PKP and Crossref work together in practice. So, sorry, Cora, one more. PKP is continuously working with Crossref to improve the level of overall DOI export support provided within OJS, or Open Journal Systems. OJS has included a simple manual export plugin for several years. I think it was Ed, or it might have been in the video, that mentioned since 2014. We have had a plugin from, I think, version 2.4 of OJS. And with every new release, we're really continuing to move toward a more automated, interoperable way to work with Crossref users within OJS. Both PKP and Crossref are signatories of the POSI principles, the principles of open scholarly infrastructure, which provides guidance for operating and sustain open scholarly infrastructure, and to really support the open research community. And notably, Crossref staff were key authors to the development of the POSI principles, and that really demonstrate the sort of place Crossref has played in the open community. PKP also serves as a sponsoring organization. Sorry, Cora, next slide. Through the Global Equitable Membership Program, enabling OJS journals to apply for Crossref membership, and if eligible, so there's a set of criteria, have their fees waived. And we also heard a bit about what it would, sort of what those criteria might be in the previous presentations today. Finally, Crossref has long supported PKP sprints, and these are typically two-day events where PKP staff and community collaborate on projects of shared importance. We would not be able to have those sprints if it wasn't for the continual sort of sponsorship of Crossref to our organization. Recently, we signed an agreement to collaborate even further on enhancements both to the Crossref plugin for OJS, but also to develop a Crossref plugin for Open Monograph Press, or OMP, our book or monograph publishing solution. This partnership also includes joint community engagement to support OJS users in transitioning to the future LTS, or long-term support version of our software. So staying up to date, we've realized how important it is for PKP to partner with our organizations that are in the same space, because it is of shared benefit to all if you are on the long-term support version of the software. And this really enables richer metadata registration as well for the Crossref community. Additionally, we're also working with Crossref to develop self-paced courses for system administrators, so that there's more sort of asynchronous support. And none of this would be possible without the generosity and the funding of the folks at Crossref. So thank you so much for being here today. This is a marathon of a meeting. I'm very impressed. And thank you also to Crossref for this continued partnership and support.
Thank you, Urooj. This is very kind words. And I'd like to invite Todd Carpenter to say a few words now, from the Executive Director of the National Information Standards Organization.
Thank you so much, Cora. And thank you to Crossref for inviting me to speak today about the impact, the history, and the real change that Crossref has brought about in terms of our community and what it has been able to achieve over its past 25 years. As Ed talked about in his opening remarks and in the video, you can see through Crossref's history the values that have been associated with the foundation of Crossref, which are focused, in my mind, on several elements: collaboration, technical rigor, and engaging the community in moving it forward to greater interoperability and greater information exchange. Not long after Crossref was formed, they approached NISO to standardize the Crossref scheme, the Crossref syntax, or the DOI syntax. And it's important, building on some of the things that Urooj had talked about interoperability. Interoperability requires that partners in the community both are working with the same technology, working with the same technological approach, but also working towards the same goals and working together to build a social infrastructure that enables the distribution of research content. And Crossref has played an integral part in that, step after step after step over the past 25 years. Building, as Ed mentioned, from citations to building from reference linking to identification of books, chapters, grants, institutions, building the base for that knowledge graph that connects the research objects that all of our community relies on. And this has involved not only the development of the technical infrastructure, but it also involves the social infrastructure of how organizations work together. As was mentioned by Urooj, the participation in Crossref staff, in leadership, in initiatives like POSI, initiatives like ORCID, initiatives like ROAR, have had tremendous impact on the ability of researchers to navigate the ecosystem of research and scholarship. They've also played a critical role in NISO's activities in standards development around the world. Oftentimes, organizations come to NISO to standardize new approaches to identifying and associating roles of authors, for example, with the credit taxonomy. And I often feel, apologies to the Crossref team, sometimes I feel like every new NISO or standards initiative eventually leads to some background work for the Crossref team to update their schema because so many people rely on it. And a standard isn't really, doesn't really hit its peak until it's adopted. And in many cases, adopted means incorporated in the Crossref schema. But the role here of this interconnected ecosystem, as Ed mentioned, is only roughly 60% there. There is a lot of work that we can focus on and move our community forward with in trying to build out this infrastructure. There are many research outputs which lack persistent identifiers, resolution, thinking about things like software and thinking about things like models and how models are incorporated into the research infrastructure. And I think, and I expect that over the next 25 plus years, Crossref and its team will lead in helping to associate and build out that infrastructure. And I'm kind of thinking also here about the role of the work that Crossref has done in connecting objects and how that applies in our current ecosystem. It wouldn't be a meeting in 2025 if we didn't have some mention of artificial intelligence. And earlier this summer, I was having a conversation with Bob Kahn, who was the innovator who developed the DOI system, the handle system. And we were talking about the application of contextual aware systems And that was Bob's original idea in developing the handle system. And how do we connect the objects that exist on the network with contextual information about where they get moved to, what they're about, the metadata associated with them, and how do you navigate that in a network of understanding? Because fundamentally, the machines don't understand anything. And it is up to the humans that are building these objects to add to them the contextual information so that the systems can understand what to do with them. And in this way, thinking about how artificial intelligence networks are taking and absorbing all of the world's information and content, how do we link that back to its original source? And this is a critical need in our community to link these objects back together. And the DOI, the Crossref system, is a critical element in that infrastructure that can solve that problem. If you imagine an AI system as taking all of the world's content and putting it into a blender and chunking it up into little bits, how do you get back to the original source material? That is the source of trust. That is the source of the scholarly record. How do we build on the knowledge of previous generations? And Crossref is uniquely positioned to help the community incorporate AI systems and build on that linking and connectivity and interoperability that is going to be required to understand whether or not some AI output has been hallucinated, was correctly interpreted, is meaningful, is providing the source and providing the recognition back to the original author. In the scholarly community, authors are not necessarily compensated. They're not paid by the publisher or paid by the consumer in the same way they might be in, say, trade publishing. Authorship is compensated in our community through recognition. And if AI systems break that chain of recognition, you break the underlying motivation for authors to contribute their ideas to the ecosystem. And Crossref and DOIs are, I think, a vital component to ensuring that those connections aren't lost. And I'm looking forward to the next 25 years of Crossref, and I'm so thankful for all of the work that the entire team at Crossref does. So congratulations on 25 years.
Thank you, Todd. Exactly on the mark. Thank you so much. All right, so now we'll hear from Abel back here. I know that Abel is preparing to share his slides.
Hello, Cora. I don't have the capability to share my presentation.
Okay, I'm going to change you to a co-host. Maybe that will help.
Okay, now it's... Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. I am a big fan of Crossref, and I am very happy to meet online these nice people. Very pleased also to meet Liza. With her, we shared for many years the board of Crossref. Congratulations to the people that conduct this organization. Cora asked me to talk about metadata in Latin America and the collaboration or contribution of Crossref. So I will share a few issues I think are very critical for us, in terms of the role of giving visibility to research and the interoperability. Okay, this is take from OpenAlex. I got the articles and reviews only from journals, and the evolution of is nice, from 2 million in 2000 to 6 million in 24. We can see that Latin American articles and the review grows, and now is about, let's say, 6% of the world production. But we can see that there is a delay in indexing the articles, which means a loss of visibility of the recent research. So this is a big problem. It is due to several reasons. But Latin America has a relatively good indexing of the research in Crossref. We can see that is now near 90 to 95%. The last 3 years, 100%, because OpenAlex got most of or all the records from Crossref. So Crossref is a critical source of a record for OpenAlex. Let me show one issue that we have in Latin America, particularly in the SciELO network. I got this table of contents of the journal, Latin American Journal of Nursing, and they publish all the articles in 3 languages, which is a big effort. And I just took the first one that was recently published, the use of generative artificial intelligence in scholarly communication. Okay, this article, it has 3 DOIs. If you go to Crossref, you can locate them, searching by title or other issue, they are there. When you go to Web of Science, they have only one version, the English version, which is okay for international, but Web of Science is not capable to run 3 versions. So sometimes they publish the 3 versions and they do not use the Crossref data element that connect them as translations. Google Scholar, which has nice coverage, in this case, do not index the Portuguese version. Dimensions, who also import from Crossref, we have the check. What happens here is that sometimes you have citations in one version or another version, but nobody's do the sum of or integration of citations. This is another example, is an article, 3-dimensional measure, blah, 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 which was published as a preprint in Research Square. Then it was submitted to Journal of Applied Oral Science. It's a journal from Brazil. It's here in the 2025 volume. It's continued publication. So we have here a second DOI. You have an original DOI for the preprinting. This article has data associated, so it has a data set in SciELO data repository. So we have another DOI for data set. This data set has 9 files, so we have DOI for each of these files, and so we have here an article with 12 DOIs. Here is another issue that important in Latin America. I got the 2024 production. We have 300 active journals. They publish about 1% of the world production. We have almost 500 prefix and an average of three, let's say, journals by prefix and 100 by prefix. So this show a big decentralization here in Latin America. It's has been sometimes very problematic, the operation of this, because of currency, of difficulty. Most of the journals are public and so on. We have also the issue of Cuba that due to the United States embargo, it's not allowed to have the DOI. I wish also to highlight in the case of Brazil, as there is also another country, the role of the Associação Brasileira de Editores Científicos, the Brazilian Association of Scientific Editors. They run the intermediate about 1,500 prefixes, which is more than 1,500 journals, which is an incredible operation that makes these journals capable to be part of the global operation. So I finished. It will be repetitive here because it was very clear in Ed's presentation and the previous talk about the contribution and the challenges that Crossref historically developed and is trying to overcome. No, I like very much the success that Crossref developing governance. As we saw, they have 160 countries, millions of records, hundreds of prefixes, and so, and how to proceed with the globalization in a sustainable way and, let's say, equitable way was a nice success of Crossref. And the other issue that was already talked, the conception, the vision that has built with Research Nexus, and also the principles of open scholarly efforts as a framework to audit the real contribution and interoperability and the address of asymmetries that we have in the global communication. And of course, the big challenge that Crossref has is really to contribute to development of open science, which has this issue that I showed and I talked to Ed several times about how to manage the fragmentation of research communication objects, and also the issue of integrity that has already enhanced. Thank you very much, Cora, for spending 2 minutes more.
Thank you, Abel. No, actually, I think you're in exactly on time. We're just a tiny little bit behind, and I am going to now invite Lisa Schiff, the chair of our board and the associate director for publishing, archives, and digitization at California Digital Library, UC office of the president. So, yeah, I think.
Thank you, Cora. Thank you. You actually just gave me a promotion. I'm the associate director. Anyway, good morning, or it's morning for me. Hello, everyone. As Cora said, my name is Lisa Schiff, and I'm the Associate Director of Publishing, Archives, and Digitization at the California Digital Library at the University of California. Excuse me. I also have the honor of being in my 3rd and final year as the Crossref board chair. And so I'm very, very pleased to be here to reflect for a bit on Crossref's 25 years, and in particular, this anniversary year. So Crossref's 25th year, like any other year, has included challenges, accomplishments, and opportunities, and the board has done its best to support the staff and help shepherd the organization through difficulties and make the most of new possibilities in order to ensure that Crossref stays on track to realize its mission. And interestingly, the challenges we've navigated have sometimes turned into significant accomplishments due to the very hard work of Crossref's very talented team. For instance, this year, the long-standing project to move Crossref systems out of a physical data center was finally accomplished. The entire suite of tools and technologies now resides in the cloud, and significant technical debt and a number of burdensome manual processes have been eliminated. The modernized system is more efficient, secure, and flexible, and is already providing a solid foundation for addressing projects and needs that have been on hold for quite some time, such as long-anticipated metadata schema updates, including better support for preprints, and the addition of typed references that can be used to indicate if a referenced item is a dataset, blog post, article, software, or some other genre. Ensuring the integrity of the scholarly record is another significant challenge, and one, of course, faced by the entire research community. Pressures on scholars to publish at greater rates, plagiarism of the, quote, plain old variety, and the growing and complicated presence of AI at every point in the scholarly communication ecosystem are just some of the forces threatening the stability and trustworthiness of the research record. But Crossref has long been committed to helping address integrity challenges. A few highlights for 2025 efforts include incorporating retractions and corrections flagged by the Retraction Watch team into the Crossref API, refreshing member terms and bylaws to make expectations about required member practices clearer, and working to stay on top of publishing patterns to understand practices that are simply new and those that might be of concern and need to be better understood. 2025 has also brought significant challenges from outside the academic world. In addition to the need to navigate continued sanctions imposed by several countries, the current United States presidential administration's actions related to research have created an environment of uncertainty expanding beyond national borders. Censorship, grant terminations, federal agency cuts and mission changes, and efforts to control academic practices at universities and colleges can all have an effect on research and research outputs wherever U.S. federal resources are involved. While Crossref would likely experience any changes from these impacts further down the road, we have been extra attentive to potential changes in overall rates of DOI registration in order to be prepared. But 2025 has not been defined by navigating difficulties. Many exciting projects have come to fruition, including those focused on meeting community needs. I've been especially pleased by the Resourcing Crossref for Future Sustainability initiative, which some of you have directly contributed to through involvement with the Membership and Fees Committee or through the solicitation of community input about Crossref's pricing models. I see somebody's asking about slides. I don't have any slides. Sorry, I'm just talking. Advancing equity has been a priority focus of this project in order to ensure the widest possible participation of publishing entities around the globe. To that end, a significant accomplishment this year was the addition of a new lower $200 membership tier that has already benefited many members. Similarly, Crossref has expanded the number of countries included in the GEM program, which means their membership and content registration fees are waived, and more research from around the world is reflected in Crossref systems and thus made broadly available. Finally, as an adopter of the Principles of Open Scholarly Infrastructure, or POSI, which are designed to ensure greater sustainability of open and community-oriented scholarly infrastructure, Crossref released a POSI audit in December of 2024, and then collaborated with other adopters and the community on a new version of POSI released in October of this year. And these are just a few of the many notable efforts from this year. So 2025 has included many successes worthy of an anniversary year. Those successes are not anomalies, but are the outcome of a stable, responsive organization, well led by dedicated staff, and well supported, I hope at least, by its board. I've been involved with the Crossref board since 2019, first as an alternate and then as a primary board member, and as I mentioned earlier, as the board chair for the last 3 years. Over these 7 years, I've seen Crossref evolve in significant ways. Perhaps most importantly, Crossref is growing as a global organization, which means a wider array of perspectives are helping to shape the work to best meet the needs of researchers and other scholarly communications stakeholders from around the world. Global representation has expanded across the staff, ambassadors, members, sponsors, and the board itself. More community events are taking place everywhere, thanks in large part to having such a distributed network of staff and ambassadors. We've also seen a change in the types of organizations becoming Crossref members. We've had a tremendous increase in institutional members, of which I am one, and institutional members have publishing programs in libraries and other subunits and assign DOIs to a variety of content, from journal articles to preprints to theses and dissertations. And most recently, funders are becoming members in greater numbers and are registering their grants. 2025 has also seen a build out of the research nexus with increased use of grant IDs and ROR IDs, improved support for preprints, and registration of more complete metadata records. In all of these ways and many more, Crossref is contributing to establishing and enriching the network of research objects to the benefit of us all. Looking ahead to 2026 and beyond, the new board will also encounter challenges and opportunities. While the unexpected will no doubt arise, some known issues will persist. The global political and economic environment shows no signs of calming down, and pressures on scholars to publish, the disruptive nature of AI, regardless of how one feels about that class of tools and technology, and the uneven nature of the funding ecosystem will continue to stress the integrity of the scholarly record. So the board and Crossref leadership team will need to continue monitoring and assessing the effect of these and other forces on the scholarly publishing community and be prepared to mitigate and weather potential follow-on impacts. But there will be significant opportunities as well, and to highlight just a few, involving an increasingly broad community in increasingly significant ways, sustaining progress on addressing equity and fees, expanding support for existing and new content genres, engaging in community initiatives, and investing in community technologies that can enable a wider array of publishing entities to register content and provide even more robust metadata, and building out the research nexus through the use of deep data analysis to find new ways to enrich metadata and assert matches and connections between research objects. These are just a handful of ideas, but as with unexpected challenges, there will be unexpected opportunities and new avenues to explore that will result in benefits not yet conceived of. In sum, while Crossref's anniversary year has indeed included challenges, it has been filled with notable accomplishments. Much of the credit for that goes, of course, to the talented and dedicated Crossref staff for their efforts to bring the organization to this point, and particularly the Crossref leadership team, Lucy Ofish, Chief Operating Officer, Ginny Hendricks, Chief Program Officer, and particularly Ed Pentz, Crossref's first and only Executive Director, who for these past 25 years has been at the forefront of moving Crossref from an idea to a flourishing entity playing a pivotal role in supporting the research record. As the Crossref chair, I can confidently speak for the board and say that it is extremely rewarding to work with an organization and its staff that contributes so much to the richness and reliability of the scholarly ecosystem, and that we are very proud to be celebrating this milestone year. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Those are very kind words. And yeah, and I love your summary of challenges and opportunities for the future board coming on. Which leads us to the next point in our program. So I shall now share the screen quickly and give control of that screen to Lucy Ofish. Here we go. I think I have control. Oh, got it. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Lucy Ofish. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Crossref. And we are going to, with a little audience participation, convene the formal portion of our meeting. So each year, part of our annual meeting is to conduct a portion of it that is membership business. And that includes an overview on the organization's governance structure, the outputs of our board election, and the check-in on the organization's finances. So I will be joined by Emily Cook, who is our counsel from Pierce Atwood.
I believe is on. Yes. Hi, Emily.
Hi, everyone.
And so there will be a point in the formal portion of the meeting where we ask for motions, which is where I'll ask you all to jump in. But just to give us a start, if I can manage to figure out how to control these slides. Cora, it's not letting me. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so to start off, we'll just give a quick overview of our governance structure. So for those that are not familiar, we are a 501c6, which is a nonprofit trade association categorization. And our board is elected by our membership. Our entire board is composed of members of Crossref. And one of the things that we come together to do today is to conduct that board election. Our board seats, there are 16 of them, our board seats are held by member organizations. The seat follows the organization names an individual to hold the seat. And board members serve 3-year terms. So today we will be electing the board members who will serve from 2026 through the end of 2028. And board members can stand for re-election. There are no term limits. And every board member who seeks re-election goes through the same vetting process as candidates that are seeking a board seat for the first time. We have the board structure has 2 corporate officers, the chair, Lisa, we just heard from, and the treasurer, which is also capped at 3. You can run 3 consecutive terms. And the board members act in the interest of the organization. They have to comply with certain standards, and that includes things like whistleblower policies for ethical or legal concerns, conflict of interest disclosures, and antitrust. They also sign off on antitrust review. Let's see if it'll let me advance the slide now. I don't think it's working. Cora, would you mind moving the slide forward one?
Let me take back control, because otherwise I don't think I can. And here we go.
Thank you. Okay, so what does the board do? The board at Crossref provides guidance to the executive director and the executive team, and they look over 3 main responsibilities. First is setting the strategic direction for the organization. The second is providing financial oversight. And the third is approving new policies or services. The board does this work through their meetings. They meet 4 times a year. Each meeting has kind of a different focus. And then there are a number of board committees that meet in between board meetings to conduct a lot of the work of the board. And so that it is time consuming at times for the board members to play these various roles, but a lot of work gets done in kind of over the course of the year through board meetings and committee work. Next slide. So we are going to move into the election portion of the meeting. That is the formal meeting that I mentioned. So the way this works is we have conducted a board election. The notice of the annual meeting and the ballots were sent to the board to the voting member of every organization on September 17th. That is the board election culminates today online at the annual meeting. We're going to have, through the course of this, 2 calls for motions during this portion of the meeting. Any member who is on the call here today can make the motion. You'll raise your hand. Cora, I think we'll unmute you. We'll ask you to make a motion, and then we will ask someone to second the motion. So we'll need 2 motions to call these business items. So to review, notice was sent to voting members on September 17th of this year. Anyone who was a member in good standing as of September 5th received a ballot. There were 22,492 members eligible to vote. Each member organization gets 1 vote, which is why the ballot goes just to the voting contact on record. And every vote is equally weighted. We also have a quorum, which requires 100 members to be present, either in this meeting or by proxy, by completing the proxy form on their ballot. We have let's see how many we have here, 168 here today, as well as 1,351 members who are represented by proxy vote. So together we have met our quorum. And I will pass to Emily.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Cook, outside counsel to Crossref. Happy birthday, Crossref. As Lucy mentioned, Crossref's board is comprised of 16 members. Each year, roughly 1/3 of the board seats are up for election. This year, there are 5 seats to be filled. In accordance with Crossref's bylaws, the board is structured to maintain a rough balance between member tiers, which are based on revenue size. Cora, if you're able to change to the next slide, thank you. The nominees are chosen by Crossref's nominating committee, a group of representatives from 5 Crossref members, 3 of whom currently serve on the board, 2 who do not, and none of whom come from member organizations who have a candidate on the slate. The purpose of the nominating committee is to review and create the slate each year for nominations to the board, ensuring fair representation of Crossref membership. This year's committee includes the folks who are on the screen on the slide here, and we're very grateful to them for serving on the committee. Cora, you can turn to the next slide.
Thanks. So the overview of the nominating process, this is one of the critical roles that our members play. As an organization that is governed by our members, one of the most important things that our membership can do is participate in our board election. So the committee considers, the first thing they do is take a review of who is on the board, the current composition of the board, looking at a number of factors. And then they think about, of the seats that are up, what would help enhance the range of perspectives that are on the board for the next year. In May, I believe, April or May, we issued a call for expressions of interest. Anyone can put them, any active member can put themselves forward to the board. You submit this form. Any current board member whose term is up submits the same form. All of the forms, the call stays open for about 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks. And then the committee convenes to review the candidates. This year we had 51 applications for 5 seats. The timing of what seats are up each year depends on a number of factors, but this year we had 4 of the 8 large seats open and 1 of the 8 small seats open. So we were looking for 5 board members in total. The slate that the committee puts together includes at least 1 more candidate than we have seats, so that the membership really has a choice in the election process. The committee focuses on building a slate that brings together diversity in personal experience, professional experience, geography, and kind of the breadth of the Crossref community to try to bring together the difficult task of 16 seats to represent 23,000 members. We had a really strong group this year. I will make 2 plugs. One is if you are interested in joining the board or applying, be on the lookout for the call next April or May 2026. If you are interested in being part of the nominating committee, it's very fun. You get to read all the statements and see, you know, how fantastic our community is. We are always looking for Crossref members to join the nominating committee. So you can write to me there at the bottom if you're interested in committee work. Thanks again to the committee, and let's look at the 2025 board slate on the next slide.
Yeah, I'm happy to read off the slate. Before I do, I'll just note there's a question in the comments. It's a great question, and I would suggest we answer it in our any other business, Lucy, before we close the meeting, if that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to address that question when we get there. Okay. The 2025 Crossref board slate in tier 1 for 1 seat are Rebecca Wambua, Distance, Open, and E-Learning Practitioners Association of Kenya, Oscar Donde, Pan-Africa Science Journal, and Nwachukwuka Egbunuke of Pan-Atlantic University Press. In tier 2 for 4 seats, the candidates are Damien Bird of CABI, Rose Lullier, Elsevier, John Sevo, IEEE, Anjali Narawatne, Springer Nature, and Nick Lindsay of MIT Press. As Lucy explained earlier, would someone make a motion to formally place these names in nomination? We just need any member.
If you can raise your hand if you would like to volunteer for that function to make the statement, and then I can, yeah, Todd. I think I can find you easy.
Todd.
Actually, you can unmute yourself. So yeah, that actually makes it easier.
I figured that was easy because I could unmute myself. I
Thank
move
you.
to adopt the slate of candidates.
Thank you. Can we have a second?
Thank you too.
Okay, Ninel, I am going to try and find you on the list now to quickly unmute you. And Ninel, excellent. Okay, I'm going to, all right, I can only promote you to panelist, so I'll try very briefly do that. You should be able to, Ninel, you should be able to unmute yourself at the moment and propose this motion.
Ninel, it sounds like you're willing to second. Is that right?
I think I've lost Ninel briefly, so oh yeah.
Oh, great.
Ninel is back.
I see a hand.
Oh, okay, I could hear something, but very quietly. Ninel, could you unmute yourself again and just say a little bit closer to the microphone? Are you willing to second? Ninel, would you be able to unmute yourself again and try to second the motion? If you're in agreement.
It seems to be back on now. I've just come back. Yeah, I just got back on this. I'm hearing that stuff on good.
We can hear you very faintly. Okay, well, Emily, would it make sense? I can see that Ivana Bolanica-Mirkovic is also raising a hand. Maybe we should do that.
And if either person wants to put it in the chat, that's sufficient too.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yes, of course, whatever's easiest.
So I'll try to find Ivana. Okay, my heart has sunk. I've lost Ivana now. Yes. Okay. All right. Ivana, you should be able to unmute now by yourself well, accept being a panelist and unmute yourself to say whether you second this motion.
I think if we could just have a second motion in the chat, that would be maybe easier for folks. Our Zoom is.
Okay, so would we have any volunteer to second the motion to accept this?
Great.
Hey, Wendy.
Counts.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy. Thanks, everybody. And now Lucy will share the results of the election. The election was held using a third-party platform called eBallot, and the election closed today at 1500 UTC, and the results were available to us in real time.
Thank you. Election closed at 1200 UTC, but yes.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's probably from last year. So if you want to move to the next slide, we can see democracy in action here. So welcome Rebecca to the board, electing one seat, one of the small seats. In tier 2, Damien Bird from Cabby, Rose Lillier from Elsevier, Anjali Navaratney from Springer Nature, and Nick Lindsay from MIT Press, 3 of whom are returning board members, and Damien is a first-time board member. So very excited to have them. And thank you to all those 51 of you that applied to the board. We really appreciate the interest and how involved our community is. Onto these folks will begin their terms January 1st, 2026. So we have our current board serves until December 31st. And this board will step in January and serve until the end of 2028. All right. Congrats to the new board members. Let's move on to a quick financial health. I will try to keep it moving. Cora, if you can go to the next slide. So one of our responsibilities to the membership is to provide an update on our financial position periodically. Our 990s are available on our website dating back to at least the last 5 years. But we do want to give a quick overview of how we are doing. For this year, membership on average tends to be up 3 to 5%. This year, we are seeing membership revenue growth up 5%. So it's looking very healthy. This content registration as well, that's not my cursor, is up 9%, which is higher than average, a couple points higher than average. You'll see donated fees. This refers to the write-offs that we do as part of our GEM program, and time-limited waivers, fee waivers we've had from time to time. And similarity checks is also the net of that. Document checking fees is what is earned by Crossref. That is up 4% on track for this year. So we, and then restricted contributions, we provide pass-through support to ROAR and the Barcelona Declaration. Those are funds that we basically hold on their behalf and administer. They are not our revenue, but they show up as Crossref revenue as our role to administer funds. So in total, our revenue for 2025, we're forecasting to end just above 14 million. On expenses, you'll see the big thing up proportionately is non-personnel expense. This is primarily due to increased AWS fees. as a result of usage of the REST API. And we are looking at kind of the long-term planning for that and how to manage that in a sustainable way. The other income and expense line is, you'll see if you look back a couple of years, that line is kind of all over the place. That is the line that is subject to market performance because it reflects changes in our investments and fluctuations in foreign currency. Most of our funds are held very conservatively in certificates of deposit. That is where our capital reserve lives. So it is not quite as subject to the volatility of the market. And it does produce interest and earnings that we record here on that line. So the net income is in a healthy position to end this year. The prior year's net income, 2020, 2021, and 2022 were the funds that we used to build up our 12-month operating reserve, which was a goal that we set out with the board back in 2020 to take the next couple of years and build up 1 year's operating expenses in a reserve fund. Should anything happen to Crossref as an organization, we have an adequate fund to support the infrastructure. It was in line with our POSI commitments at the time. Subsequent surpluses, we are planning with the board right now how to reinvest those back into the community. So you will be hearing more about that next year. And I think that's it. If we could move on to the next slide. We've got one more round of motions. Any members can raise any membership business if they would like to.
I think we have one question in the chat, Lucy, that we can address. Make sure there's not anyone else.
I can read it out.
Yes, please.
We have Harry Selden is asking, may I request you to state the whistleblower policy in a single sentence, and what is the relationship between the structure of conflict of interest with whistleblower policies?
Good question. So the whistleblower policy is the New York, we are incorporated in New York State. So we comply with New York State's whistleblower policy, which allows for board members to have a protected way to raise concern about ethical or legal issues. And they can take those directly to Emily or to the State Charities Bureau.
So it creates a path. It creates a path. The whistleblower policy creates a path for reporting up if someone was worried about illegal or unethical conduct at Crossref. Yeah, and as Lucy says, it's a required policy. In contrast, the conflicts of interest policy describes how Crossref, the board, and its officers and employees should deal with conflicts of interest, which are routine. They arise from time to time. They create the policy creates or establishes the procedures for dealing with conflicts of interest as they come up. So I think, Hari, to answer your question, you only get to the whistleblower policy if someone is concerned that the conflict of interest policy has been violated, hasn't been followed. So the whistleblower policy is a much broader, covers a much broader range of conduct, and is that we fortunately don't encounter at Crossref typically. Any follow-up questions on that?
All right, I think there's another hand raised.
Yeah, we've got Idris Yeba. Buta. We were trying to reach out to him in the chat whether there are any questions that we can respond to, but I haven't seen anything written. Idris Yeba Buta, if you have a question, would you be able to share it with us? Probably easiest in the chat because we've had a bit of a difficulty unmuting participants.
Okay, I think if we can also always answer questions after the fact, but if there's no other membership business, we may I know an example of a conflict of interest in the context of Crossref membership? Yeah, so there is not an example of conflict of interest in the context of Crossref membership. The conflict of interest refers to the leadership staff and the board. So if the board is taking a vote, for example, on a possible partnership, and that board member sits on the board of the organization we're talking about, for example, they would recuse themselves from that vote. If there's some sort of relationship that board member has in a Crossref transaction, so if their spouse sits on the board or is a senior executive member of the company that we're talking about, the conflict of interest primarily is it's related to board decisions and resolutions. So members in general don't have to worry about conflict of interest.
It's a really good question.
Okay, so we're going to do two more motions. Let's just do these in the chat. If we could have a motion, this is the formal portion of the meeting that we have to give you every year, but the rest of the meeting is, still ongoing. So if we could have a motion just to adjourn this formal portion of the business, and then a second as well. And you could put, if you are a member of Crossref, you can put the motion forward in the chat, and then someone can second it as well.
All right, we need a volunteer, someone who is a member, who is able to put the motion to adjourn the official part of the meeting now. You can do it in the chat, or you can raise your hand.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
A motion, we just need a second from a second member to adjourn. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. All right. So we haven't earned our break quite yet, though. So we are now going to invite Amanda Bartel to talk about Crossref then and now. So about the history of our membership. Right, Amanda, I'm going to try and give you control of the slides. Hopefully it will work better than the previous time.
Lovely. Thanks, Cora. Hi, everyone. Yes, in our 25th year, I'm going to take a quick whiz through Crossref then and now. So I'm going to start with the scale of Crossref today. So many of you will have seen these slides before. We currently have over 23,000 organisational members who've registered 174 million metadata records with us. And as we've seen, there's over 2 billion calls to our API every month. So we have a lot of member organisations in a lot of places, registering a lot of records that are used globally and regularly. But the question is, how did we get here? So for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to go on a little adventure through space and time, mostly time, where we're going to look at a snapshot of our member organisations through the years and how that's changed. So let's go back 20 years to 2005. At this stage, Crossref has 318 members from 31 different countries. And the majority of those members, 89%, are based in North America or North or West Europe. As many of you know, our member fees are tiered according to the annual publishing revenue or annual publishing expenses, if they're higher, of the member organisation. And at this stage, about half of our members are eligible for our lowest fee tier. These members are mostly societies, 40%, or publishers, 33%. And they're supported by 5 Crossref staff members who themselves are based in just 2 countries, the US and the UK. Let's jump on 5 years. We're now in 2010. And at this stage, Crossref has just over 1,000 members from 69 different countries. And we're really starting to see growth in members based in Asia. So you'll remember back in 2005, the bulk of members were based in North America or North or West Europe. But by 2010, they only account for 63% of all of our members. Back in 2005, only 4% of our members were based in Asia. But by 2010, that's gone all the way up to 18%. Driven a large part by members from Republic of Korea. We had 93 members from Korea at that stage. We're also starting to see smaller, less well-funded organisations starting to join. We're now up to 78% of our members being eligible for our lowest fee tier. Members are still mostly societies, 37%, and publishers, 28%, but we're starting to see a new group emerging, universities and scholar-led organisations, who now make up 23% of our membership. And all of these member organisations are supported by 14 Crossref staff members, still just based in 2 countries, the US and the UK. So jumping on another 5 years, we find ourselves in 2015. At this stage, Crossref has over 3,000 members from 93 different countries. That growth in Asia is continuing. 38% of our members are now based in Asia. And we start to see members from Latin America emerging. They now make up 12% of our membership. We've got members in 12 different countries in Latin America, but mostly they're coming from Brazil, where we have 274 members in Brazil at this stage, and that's due to really expand in the following years. We now really start to see the sponsor program emerging. Sponsors, as most of you will know, are there to support members who would otherwise be eligible for our lowest fee tier, and support members who maybe have barriers to accessing membership, whether that's financial, technical, language, etc. By this stage, we have 26 sponsors in 14 different countries. We're also starting to see the rise of university and scholar-led members really continuing. That's now up to 29%. And for the first time, they've overtaken publishers, who are now at 21%. However, societies still make up the largest group of Crossref members. And at this stage, they're supported by 28 Crossref staff members based in the US and the UK. So we find ourselves all the way in 2020, possibly a year that many of us don't want to think about, but let's power on. At this stage, Crossref has almost 12,000 members from 133 different countries. And at this stage, 46% of all members are based in Asia, driven by really strong growth in Indonesia. We have over 1,600 members in Indonesia by this stage. We have 77 sponsors in 32 countries by 2020, and we've seen our first sponsor join from North Africa. Membership is now heavily weighted to smaller, less well-funded organisations, with 97% eligible for the lowest fee tier. And I can't actually see my own numbers, and 57% working through a sponsor. University and scholar-led organisations are now make up our largest group of members at 37%, followed by publishers and societies. So for the first time, they've overtaken everyone. And they're supported by 43 different staff members in 5 different countries: France, Germany, Ireland, the UK, and the US. My slides seem to no longer want to progress. Oh, there we go. Lovely. I don't know if that was me or Cora. Thank you, Cora, if it was you. So we find ourselves now back in modern times. Our adventure through space and time is almost over. At this stage, as we've heard, we've got over 23,000 members in 163 different countries. The rest of those figures, we've got 23% in Americas, 22% in Europe, 3% in Africa, 1% in Oceania. African numbers are a little strange. We work with our excellent members, AJOL, who actually represent many, many hundreds of journals under their one membership. By this stage, we have 98% of our members eligible for that lowest fee tier, and 57% are working through a sponsor. There's a real mix of organisation types by this stage. Universities and scholar-led are still the largest group, and we still have publishers and societies, but societies are dropping away there to be replaced by a real mix of museums, botanic gardens, banks, government organisations, NGOs, and of course, research funders who are registering grant records with us through the Crossref grant linking system. And all of those members are now supported by 48 Crossref staff members in 12 different countries. So we can really see that Crossref membership has really sort of changed and evolved over the years as the scholarly communications world has changed as well. Got a few graphs here to really demonstrate the sort of the scale and the pace of that growth. So we have a graph here which shows the number of members, which really shows a huge uptick after 2015. Country counts over the years, and we can see the steady growth there. And we can also see the types of member organisations and how that's ebbed and flowed. Now, given this change of member organisations, leaning more towards small, less funded organisations, we have a few programmes to help support that and help to ensure that our access to our membership is as equitable as possible. And a big part of that is the GEM programme. Oh, we've gone backwards. Thanks, Cora.
We're just on time now, so if you could be wrapping up.
Okay, fine. So the GEM programme, it offers fee-free access to Crossref membership for organisations based in countries on the IDA list from the World Bank. And I'm delighted to say we're actually extending the basis of the programme for 2026. It'll now include the World Bank IDA blend list and the United Nations least developed countries. So there's actually going to be an additional 19 countries added to the list. There's existing members who will now become eligible for GEM, but obviously the purpose here is to open up our infrastructure to organisations that would otherwise be blocked. So we really hope that this extension to the programme will mean many, many more members who weren't previously able to join will be able to join. That's me. Thanks, Cora.
Thank you. I'll stop sharing momentarily and we'll make a quick change in our program. We'll now switch straight to a presentation from Helena of our roadmap. Helena, if you can please get ready. And I will give you an update about our CFS, so our resourcing Crossref for future sustainability after we cover the data science update. So, Helena, I will be momentarily sharing the slides for you, but if you can start off, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, hi everyone. Really happy to have an opportunity today to talk to you about the Crossref roadmap. I guess I'll give Cora a second to get the slides up, or should I be sharing my screen, Cora? Would that be easier?
Okay, I'm almost there. Crossref roadmap. Here we go.
Perfect.
Okay, now share the slides, and here we go. Sharing.
Very good.
And
yeah, I can see it now. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I won't be covering a lot of history when it comes to the roadmap, but I thought I could mention one thing that happened in the past, and that was that last year in 2024, Crossref moved from products to programs. Obviously, we still develop services for our community, but our approach changed. And the main reasons for that were because we wanted to work towards better cross-team alignment. So internally, have all the teams contribute to our programs and services. And hand in hand with that, have more shared responsibility. We wanted to have improved communication and learning. And importantly, we wanted to make more progress on all the things that you need from us. And so last year, we set up 3 different programs to work towards these goals. One program is co-creation and community trends. The second one, contributing to the research nexus. And the third one is open and sustainable operations. And if you think these themes sound familiar, that's because these are very closely aligned with the 4 strategic goals that Crossref has. The first goal being contribute to an environment where the community identifies and co-creates solutions for broad benefit, which obviously aligns with our CCT program. Then Crossref wants to be a sustainable source of complete, open, and global scholarly metadata and relationships, which is what we focus on in the contributing to the Research Nexus program. Another goal is that we want to manage Crossref openly and sustainably, modernizing and making transparent all operations. And we work on that in the Open and Sustainable Operations program. And then across the themes and programs, it's very important that we foster a strong team because reliable infrastructure needs committed people within Crossref and obviously also within the community. And today in my talk, I wanted to touch on some of the things within each program that we did this year, some of the things that are currently in progress, and some of the things we're planning to do later this year or early next year. Obviously, this slide doesn't include all the things that happened within the co-creation and community trends program, because otherwise we definitely would not be having a break after my talk. So I just wanted to touch on some things that I thought would be of interest. So within co-creation and community trends, we integrated with Rogue Scholar to automate the archiving and assignment of DOIs for our blog. So if we now publish a blog post, it also has a Crossref DOI. We made an edit feature available in our record registration form, one of the helper tools we have to help members with content registration. And very recently, yesterday, we released a new version of our participation reports, where you can see per member for different metadata elements how complete the metadata is. Then currently we're reviewing our website information architecture with the idea that we'll be making changes to that next year. In collaboration with DSpace, we're working on a DSpace integration so that members that are depositing content in a DSpace repository can easily register that content with Crossref. And as you've hopefully already heard, we're deprecating Metadata Manager, one of our other helper tools, and we're helping members transition to the record registration form. And there will be a webinar taking place next month to help members with that. I think one of my colleagues will post a link in the chat if you want to register for that webinar. Then next year, we're hoping to do an AI detection pilot to do more in the research integrity space. We are closely collaborating with OGS, as I think you already heard earlier. And one of the things we're doing is plugin consolidation. And we're planning to launch or relaunch our service providers program. We had that running previously, and now we're in the process of sort of revamping that, and we're planning to relaunch that in Q1 of 2026. Let's see, the arrows seem to have disappeared, Cora, to give me control over the slides.
Yeah, very exciting. I've also lost the slides altogether, but I'm sure we'll be able to bring them back momentarily.
Maybe those two things are then related. But yeah, I can already mention what's on my next two slides, because I wanted to highlight that in tomorrow's annual meeting, there will be demos of the record registration form and also of participation reports. So if you're awake at that time, I can recommend you join those sessions to see these new developments in action. And otherwise, obviously, you can still watch the recording afterwards. But yeah, don't miss it. Then to move to contributing to the research nexus, at the start of this year, we launched our public data file, and we'll do the same early next year. We've been doing research and planning for new matching services. I think you'll hear more about it later today in the update from the data science team. And we've incorporated retraction watch retractions in the REST API. Two things that are currently in progress is that we're working on a new data citation endpoint, which will then enable us to replace event data. So yeah, users will be contacted about that. And we're also in the middle of a Metadata Plus consultation to learn more about the usage of our Metadata Plus service. Later this year and early next year, we're planning to make changes to REST API rate limits specifically for the public and polite services. We're evaluating external data sources for ingestion. So similar to what we did with Retraction Watch, where we're making that information available in our API, we're seeing if we want to do that for additional external sources as well. And within the matching project, we're working on matching funder metadata to raw IDs. Then for OSO, as you may have heard, we did a migration to AWS to enable us to move out of our physical data center. We've been doing some work internally to improve reliability of the data transfer. At the moment, we're working on both research into DOI resolutions, but also a revamp of the resolution reports that members receive from us. And we're automating prefix allocation. And the things we're planning to do next is next year, a big focus will be on rebuilding the Crossref authentication system. Early in the year, we're hoping to launch Metadata Schema 5.5, which will include credit. And we're also starting to work towards deprecating some older, little used schema versions. And also later today, my colleague Patricia will tell you more about the developments in the metadata space. So there we go. The last thing I wanted to mention before the break is that if you want to keep track of future plans, you can always go to the Crossref strategy page of our public product board page. And there you can see all the things that we're working on and that we're planning to do. And of course, if you have questions, feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you very much.
All right, so we have reached the promised break. Unfortunately, we are a few minutes behind, So if I can ask everyone to be here promptly in about 9 minutes, at 15:15, whatever is the time for you. It is 3:15 for me. It is 4:15 UTC, I believe. So 5 minutes later, then maybe we have planned for anyone who is speaking in that session. Please do join us 15:15, the hour. And in the meantime, please use the break to whatever it is that you need to be doing. Preferably take your eyes off the screen and yeah, maybe have a little of a stretch. See you all in 15:15.
Thank you.
Thank you. right, so the time of our break is gone. And at the start of this second part of the meeting, I would like to very briefly try and find one of our colleagues over in Bogota, who is heading the in-person event, Nicolas, or I think I saw Arlie earlier in our panelists list, to just say hello to our colleagues and community in Bogota. Right, and so I can see Arlie. Arlie, I'm going to make you a panelist, and if you have access to, I presume you do since you're online, to a phone or a laptop, you can enable your camera and microphone and say hello to us all from the event there. All right. Arlie, are you there? Yeah, I can see you on the panelist list. Do you want to unmute yourself and just say hello from Bogota and tell us how your event is going very quickly? All right. I think Arlie, are you able to unmute yourself? Well, let us know in the chat if that's not the case, because we would like to move on. All right. Well, we can give it another try a little later on. And in the meantime, I would like to welcome our next presenter, who is going to be showing us some of the highlights from our community. We'll start with Antoine Drouin. I'm not sure if I pronounce that right, but that is the best I can do. I'm sorry, Antoine. From Fonds de Recherche du Québec, to talk to us about adoption of the GLS. All right, I'm trying to give you the slides control, Antoine.
Yes, everything's good. Thank you, Cora.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Thanks for having me today. I hope you are doing well. I'm Antoine Drouin. I work as a strategy analyst at Fonds de Recherche du Québec, so FRQ, and I'll be talking about our rapid adoption of Crossref as a funder. So, okay, does this work? It seems to. Let's skip that. It's just a quick video presenting our organization, but I can do that myself. So our mission is to support the strategic and coherent development of scientific research in Quebec in all sectors of research. So natural sciences and engineering, health sciences, as well as social sciences and humanities, arts and literature. We have an annual budget of just over 330 million Canadian dollars. We are Quebec's only public funder of research. We signed the Coalition for Advancing Research Assessment in 2023. So this is aimed at recognizing research quality and diversity of contributions. We introduced descriptive CVs in some of our programs this year. We endorse an immediate open access policy for publications. This allows us to see the impact of Crossref grant IDs because we can trace the publications. We joined Crossref last year and have since generated more than 22,000 DOIs for current grants and scholarships and past grants and scholarships. We can see here on this graph provided by Crossref the stark increase in the number of grants this year when we generated through Crossref all the DOIs. So this leads us to be one of the main users of Crossref among funders. What were our motivations for joining Crossref? So Crossref seemed most suited for steady annual workflows. So we hold our competition schedules about on the same dates year after year. Crossref also provides efficient customer service and strives for constant improvement. It seemed for us a low investment for high return potential. And we surely wanted to initiate a movement in the Canadian research ecosystem by being the first funder in Canada to adopt the Crossref grant linking system. What are the current and anticipated benefits for joining Crossref? So, of course, we wanted to improve user experience through interoperability. So now we offer linkage to ORCID IDs, but also ROAR IDs for organizations and Crossref grant IDs for all our grants and scholarships. ROAR IDs are great, by the way, for standardizing the names of organizations. The adoption of Crossref also helped us increase traceability of funding and of funding outputs, and improve impact assessment for individual holders as well as research groups. So this is still ongoing, still on the table, but we hope that it helps us accomplish that. This is what we see when we type in Fonds de Recherche du Québec in the Crossref funding data browser. So we can see that some journal articles appear. So this is great, but we'd like to see other types of research outcomes in on the short or long term. And here I'd like to take a sidebar and stress the importance for editors to provide a space for people to indicate the funding received when they submit articles. So ask article submitters if they were funded, by whom, and generate metadata associated to funding into a dedicated section in the article or an acknowledgement section, so that we can capture this info here through the Crossref browser. Thank you. Now, what does our DOI landing page look like? So this is the info we chose to display. This is all drawn from our database. So this is drawn from the funding application. So we chose to display the abstract as at time of evaluation, as well as keywords, membership info when it's a group, ROAR IDs, the amount received, and so on. What were the steps taken? So we first generated the DOIs through Crossref in April. We notified past and current funding holders immediately, issued a press release immediately as well, and designed a web page to have all the relevant info on persistent unique identifiers, because it's new. We included the acknowledgement of funding through DOIs in our common general rules, which apply to all programs. We offer ORCID interoperability as of July 2025. We offer ongoing personnel training and maintain connections with libraries and editors, and this is very important. We are also working on an operationalization framework to help the employees adopt the DOIs. This is what the acknowledgement of funding received paragraph in our common general rules looks like. So it states that funding holders must, in all research outcomes, whether it be reports, articles, artistic works, and so on, acknowledge the funding received from the FRQ using the templates provided by the FRQ. So the templates are short sentences containing the DOI info. Next slide. Does it work? There seems to be a bit of latency here. Okay. Do you see challenges faced? I hope so. I see it.
Yes,
so what were... Great. Thanks, Cora. We faced some challenges. This is still new, but mostly defining metadata management and ownership. So what and how much to display in the DOI landing page. And also how to handle metadata modification requests. So people started coming in and asking for metadata modifications. We see, so let's say a title or abstract modifications, but we see the DOI landing page as a photo of the dossier at time of evaluation of the research application. So it must not change. Some organizations like the National Institutes of Health, as well as the European Commission, provide different sections for updates on the project, like final report summaries or an outcome section. This is still on the table for us. We didn't want to go down that rabbit hole for now. So we only display the abstract and the title from the initial funding application. And how to prevent sensitive info from being displayed. So we wouldn't want to hinder someone filing a patent application, for example. So this is still, we're thinking about that as well. Of course, there are new concepts to master for our personnel, but for the research community as well. So to distinguish between the article DOI or the research outcome DOI and the grant or scholarship DOI, of course. And how do we capture different types of research outcomes? So we didn't want to capture publications so much as other types of research outputs because we have signed COERA. So we want to put forward a diversity of contributions to research. So for example, museum exhibitions, research reports, artwork, patents, websites, podcasts even, and so on. So how can we capture that through the browser? I have only one slide remaining and I seem to have lost control. Cora, can you help me here? So, well, the last slide, I can do it orally. It's just about practical insights I have for you. So please provide clear instructions for your community and for your personnel as well. And keep track of feedback received when adopting Crossref, because there will be a lot. It's a big change on practices. Also, maintain connections with libraries. They know a lot about persistent identifiers. They have been using them for years. So it's essential to know what's going on their part. And learn from others. So some funders have already learned the ropes and adopted Crossref. So ask questions and see what others are doing. This is what concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, you can ask them or you can write me as well. Since I don't have access to my presentation anymore, I'll just drop my email info in the chat. So thanks, everyone. Cora, are you there?
It looks like we might have lost Cora off the attendee list. But Antoine, thank you ever so much for the presentation.
Thanks, Amanda.
I can share my screen for the next presenter if somebody, while I'm doing that, if somebody can tell me who the next presenter is.
Hello, Amanda. I'm on the list. I don't know what the order was going to be for the session, but I'm happy to go next if you like, or if one of the other speakers is also lined up, they can.
Have a look. We had Antoine. I'm just diving into the slides.
Apologies for this.
Oh, you're back, Cora. Agon was next, I think.
Hi. Is it me next?
I think so, Agon. Shall I just share the slides and maybe you tell me when you'd like to move to the next one?
Yes, I can for sure.
It sounds like Cora's having a few problems with her internet connection, so we'll plow on. Thanks, Agon.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. As announced, I just prepared my presentation for 7-minute presentation with some small things that we have done using Crossrefs in our institution and under the sprint that it was organized on last year on Madrid. We can continue with the next. I don't know if I can. Yes, because I cannot manage to share my screen, or you will change slides, how it will go on.
Oh, yes, I think somebody might have just taken sharing power away from me. Let me try and get that back, Agon. Oh, no.
I
Who's
can
this?
share because I already downloaded them.
I think maybe I'm back to sharing because I'm back to the meeting. I'm very sorry about all the disruption. All right, Agon, can everyone see
Yes.
this slide? Excellent. I'm sorry about this. And
Just full screen them and continue to the next one.
can we see this slide, analyzing abstract coverage and authorship patterns?
Do I have to share, or we'll
No,
continue?
no, I am sharing.
Yeah, but just
Yeah.
go to next one and full screen it. I cannot move. Yes, next. Okay, short introduction about me. Coming from University of Tetova, also as an associate professor of computer sciences under the Department of Natural Sciences and Mathematics, Faculty of Natural Sciences and Mathematics in North Macedonia. As I said, also covering as a head or managing the Project Management Office and Innovation Office at University of Tetova. It is short example about our Crossref that we are using under our university, about the university journals that we are managing too. If you can, just go further to the next slide, because I cannot. Are you hearing me?
Argon, I think we can hear you, but I wonder if there's a lag.
But
oh, there you go.
it will be better if I will share my screen, but no problem at all. So the topic that I'm going to present today, just previous one, sorry. Yes, it's analyzing abstract coverage and authorship patterns in Crossref-Registered University of Tetova journal articles, and it is taken for 2024 year, for the last year, about 13 journals that our university just published them starting from 2012. Next. The context and motivation. So the idea here, it was just accurate metadata enhances discoverability, indexing, and impact of scholarly outputs. The abstracts taken by all our university journals, issues, volumes for that year, for 2024, and authorship information are key metadata elements for the transparency and open science also. Many institutional journals in emerging research systems face metadata gaps in Crossref records, and the study here, it was aimed to evaluate and improve the completeness of metadata for University of Tetova journals, as I previously mentioned, for 13 journals that we are covering under our University of Tetova. Next. The research objective, first, it was to access abstract coverage, determine the proportion of articles with and without abstracts in Crossref metadata for 2024. And next, analyzing the authorship patterns, just explore publication frequency, co-authorship, and citation distribution. Promoting metadata quality, identifying areas for improvement, and align practices with open science standards. Next. Tools that we used, as I saw, it was under the sprint that was used, that was managed and held by the Crossref in Madrid, and it was taken the XML files of our 13 University of Tetova journals for 2024 year. The Crossref CSV files were exported for all the registered DOEs. Tools and libraries that we used the Python programming language and the components around it that helped us just to align our objectives. Crossref REST APIs for metadata enrichment also, and the approach, it was quantitative and visual analysis using structured metadata. Next. About the abstract coverage analysis, we saw that for the 2024 year, for the issues and volumes that were published under our university by different faculties and different study programs, expected and pairs metadata from all journals XML files. We calculated the percentage of articles with versus without abstracts, as I said previously, and identified variation across journals in metadata completeness. The key insight was lack of abstracts significantly reduces article discoverability and indexing potential. Next. The authorship patterns here, it is an example with authorship patterns that was managed by the data that we have taken by Crossref and DOEs published under our journals, retrieved enriched author and citation data via Crossref REST APIs, split multiple authors per paper to analyze individual productivity and collaboration trends, and also visualize the co-authorship distribution and citation counts. The observation was done strong presence of single author papers, co-authorship networks emerging in specific disciplines. Just as I said, we are covering 30 disciplines in 30 departments and faculties under our university. Next. The integration and insights. Metadata integration ensures consistency and completeness across datasets. We combined XML and Crossref data just to improve coverage and accuracy, as I said. It provides a reproducible model for institutional metadata audits and supporting a long-term goal of a metadata-driven research evaluation framework. Next. As a conclusion, metadata analysis reveals both progress and gaps in institutional journal practices. Consistent abstract inclusion and standardized author metadata are essential, as we know, for global visibility. As a future work that we are going on and working on, we want to extend analysis to other metadata fields, such, for example, funding, affiliation, or references, and developing an automated metadata validation pipeline just for our university use, for University of Tetova journals. Next, I think that was so broader impact for sure, contributing to institutional open science strategy and metadata literacy, strengthen the connection between local scholarship and global indexing ecosystems, and also encouraging collaboration between researcher, editors, and metadata circulations. Next. Thank you. So if there is any question, you can mail me or we can just discuss it here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Agon. So yeah, if anyone has questions for Agon, please do drop them in the chat. We'll try to have a bit of a Q&A at the end of this session. But for now, we will be moving swiftly to presentation from
Did we lose Cora again? Well, hello everybody. I'm Charlie Rapple from Kudos. I'm one of the founders of Kudos, and we're a platform for explaining research in plain language and trying to help it reach audiences more widely within and beyond academia. And I'm going to talk about something slightly different today, which is some research that we did in partnership with Crossref and with some support from Crossref amongst other publishers. Is my voice any better now? Thank you, guys. Is that any better? Yeah, good. Thank you. Sorry. So I'm going to talk about some research that we did looking at how the Sustainable Development Goals are being referred to and researched and published. We do a lot of projects like this at Kudos, and we have a lot of support from the publishing community with those. So I don't know if my slides are on the screen and whether if I just say next, anybody is there to share them, or whether I
Yes.
think Cora's, oh yeah.
The slides are showing and you can just say next. Yeah.
Okay, next, thank you. Perfect. Okay, let's go next again then, please. Thank you. Cool, thanks. So just to go back to first principles about what are the SDGs, I think many of us know this, so apologies if this is covering ground you already know, but the Sustainable Development Goals are a universal call to action to end poverty, to protect the planet, and to improve the lives and prospects of everybody everywhere. And they were adopted by all UN member states in 2015. And there are 17 different goals as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And that's a 15-year plan, which we've got 5 years left now. And I think you may be aware both of the goals and also of some of the skepticism around them. And there are countries, there are presidents, and there are others in the political space who think that we're not going to achieve the goals, that they are a failed initiative, and we shouldn't possibly even be trying to achieve these things. I think most of us here would hopefully agree that whether or not you believe that the Sustainable Development Goals themselves are achievable, we should all believe in the importance of trying to solve humanity's most pressing challenges. And the research that we as a community undertake or publish is one of the most powerful ways forward in addressing the goals. Next slide, please. So I think not all of the community necessarily is favoring the goals, but I do think that we have the power to change lives, to change policy, to influence the behavior of individuals around the world, and to improve well-being and outcomes. And that change comes about because of purposeful efforts to get the right information into the hands of the right people at the right time, helping people understand the research in all these different areas, whether that's in healthcare or infrastructure or clean energy, helping people understand its relevance to them, and publishing that information and explaining it is a really big part of that. Next, please. One of the things that we are passionate about at Kudos is about explaining research, translating it and contextualizing it to tell the stories better of what the research has tried to achieve, what it has found out, what the implications of that are for individuals as we live our lives. What do we need to change about the way that we live? And so that's a big part of the work that I do now. Next slide, please. What I am really focused on is trying to identify research that is going to make a difference. So there's often not necessarily massive, huge, wide-scale studies, but lots of research that really does tackle very closely the Sustainable Development Goals as they've been set out. And so what I try to do is identify that research, how relevant it is, how actionable it is, and then summarize it and explain it, and explain what the action points are that can be taken away from it. So this is a little bit different often to how the research has been written up. It will be written up often for very academic audiences, and the abstract will be a summary of the methodology and other rigorous things like that. What I try and do with my team is draw out, yes, but what does that mean for us in the real world? Next slide, please. And then we try and bring all of that together into really attractive, visually engaging showcases and stories and recommendations that are themed around the goal. And we do lots of work to promote those through social media and other channels like that, that people are exploring, so that we can reach out beyond the framing of academic journals in particular, and get this kind of trustworthy recommendations and information into the wider media environment. Next slide, please. It's really, I love what we do. It's really exciting. It really makes a difference. We see this content getting more views and more discussion, more citations than any of the other content that we're hosting, or the content that we choose to be related to the SDGs. People really do see it as relevant. And we capture lots of information about the audiences that we're reaching to keep validating. This is why we're doing this, because we want to get to teachers, and we want to get to policymakers, and we want to get to healthcare practitioners, and we want them to understand what the research is telling us to do next. So that's just a bit of background about the work that I do around the SDGs. Next slide, please. And about 2 years ago, I started work on a study where we wanted to look into how practicing researchers and academics, what is their awareness around the Sustainable Development Goals? How much are the SDGs shaping the choices that people make about what they're researching? And what should we as the scholarly information sector be doing to support that and facilitate that? And Crossref, as I said, was one of the sponsors of the study, along with a handful of publishers and publishing services. So my thanks to the American Chemical Society, to De Gruyter Brill, the BMJ Group, Cabell's, and Wiley, alongside Crossref, for helping this study take place. Next slide, please. And what I've done today is just pull out a snapshot of some of the findings, and I've put my contact detail in as well if you want to know more or ask any more questions about this work. We had responses, I think, from 4,500 researchers really across the world and across lots of different disciplines, and saw a lot of awareness of the SDGs, and a high number of people thinking that yes, the Sustainable Development Goals should be a factor in how research funding is allocated. Next slide, please. We could see things like different regions having different priorities. So respondents in Africa were much more likely to select zero hunger as one of the SDGs shaping their research. Researchers in Australia were more likely to have reduced inequalities shaping their research. Respondents in Asia and the Middle East were more likely to select industry, innovation, infrastructure. So that's one of the kind of interesting points that has emerged, that the goals have different priorities, different meaning in different parts of the world. Next slide, please. We could also see that people are being supported to try and make more visible this research that they're doing. So people doing work around the SDGs are managing to carve out budgets or are being granted specific funding to support extra promotion around that research. And those who are working in the environmental space or agricultural space or engineering and technology were most likely to say that they had significant budget for making their research more available. Next slide, please.
All right, we have half a minute left.
Thanks. I'm near the end, I think. Excuse me. The work in this area is not without its challenges. One of the things that is really hard is that sometimes responding to the SDGs means that you are doing very localized research and it's not considered to be prestigious. So some of the more prestige journals won't publish it. So there is a tension for academics in their choices about where to publish their research. They want to try and publish in what are perceived as the most prestigious journals, but the kinds of research that they do around the SDGs may not be perceived as a fit for those journals. So I think there is responsibilities for us in the publishing sector. We just move forward. And another one, I think, please. So what I've done here, and I will circulate the slides, is just try and summarize some of the challenges that are being faced by our community and some of the ways in which we can offer more support as people in the kind of publishing infrastructure space in terms of commissioning content, valuing this content better, evaluating it differently, communicating it differently. I'm really mindful of time, so I will stop there. Ed, if you could just flip to my final slide. I think that's got my contact details on. Thank you. So if you would like to know more about the study and have more detail around those recommendations or to get a copy of the slides, please just get in touch with me, charlie@growkudos.com. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Charlie. That was great. Really, really interesting project and very valuable. Now, unfortunately, we've had a change to the program. Our next speaker was supposed to be Tatiana Yeroshenko from the State Scientific and Technical Library of Ukraine, but unfortunately, she's had to send her apologies due to war activity in their area. I'm sure we'll send our very best wishes over to Tatiana. So instead, Ed, we're going to move on to Pia Kretschmar from the CERN SCOAP3 project. Pia, over to you.
Hello, thank you for having me. Yeah, as already said, I'm Pia Kretschmar. I work at the Scientific Information Service at CERN and am also part of the Scope 3 operational team. Yeah, if you could just go to the next slide, please. Yeah, and exactly today I'm going to talk about the integration of the Crossref metadata into the Scope 3 open science elements that were implemented this year in the new phase. Next slide, please. Yeah, so first of all, of course, what is Scope 3? Scope 3 is the sponsoring consortium for open access publication in particle physics, so quite niche. It was launched in 2014. It's a global collaboration consisting of more than 3,000 libraries, research organizations, and funders from 47 countries that centrally pays for open access publications as default CC BY license, with obviously then no costs for the authors. Yeah, now you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so here you can see the purple little dots are the partners of our collaboration, who have, of course, a big part. And then in, I would say, turquoise, you can see the countries, regions, and territories that are also, that are also contributing to Scope 3, but without actively paying, which means we have really a collaborative, sharing, and open initiative here. Yeah, if you could go to the next slide. Yeah, so here you can see the 11 journals, like the 11 biggest journals in the, or 11 of the biggest journals in the high energy physics discipline. published by 7 publishers. And since 2014, Scope 3 has funded more than 78,000 articles, which then concludes to more than 90% of articles published in high energy physics. Yeah, if you could go to the next one, please. Yeah, so after almost over a decade, actually, the disciplinary open access has been almost achieved and sustained. And so Scope 3 appointed a working group to explore new possibilities for the future of Scope 3, including the addition of new journals to the program, for example. This was not considered then, but the working group proposed and then decided for a new mechanism for phase 4, which started this year, which is how we call it, the addition of open science elements. And this is a mechanism to incentivize publishers for enhancing their open science practices, with the aim, of course, to not only do it for the high energy physics journals that are covered by Scope 3, but also then implement this in their bigger portfolio. The publishers will be evaluated by the articles they shared to the Scope 3 repository, and then the score that they can achieve will be compared to each other, which results in an adjustment of the financial compensations at the end of the year. Yeah, if you could go to the next slide. Yeah, exactly. Oh, this is a bit, sorry. The red frame should be going around the metadata provision. Yeah, here you can see the open science elements. Some of them are quite technical. For example, the integration of persistent identifiers like ORCID or HOR. As I'm going to dive into a bit deeper, the metadata provision to Crossref, the linking of data sets and software that are connected to the publication, but also a bit more broad and less technical, like the transparent peer review, accessibility, not only to the website, but also to the publication itself, and at last, the disclosure on the Scope 3 community values, who have been defined by the actual community, and that includes some things like sustainability goals or DAI disclosure. It's all about transparency in this point. Exactly, but still really important. Could you go to the next one? Yeah, thank you. And now coming a bit more to the implementation of the metadata to Crossref. The working group that I mentioned has defined in total 37 metadata fields, some of them mandatory, some of them additional, that have been communicated to the publishers prior to the evaluation time itself. The evaluation period was in the beginning of this year and covered the articles that were provided to the Scope 3 repository in the last 3 months of 2024. These metadata fields also have been validated by Crossref after that definition, but we are also still in dialogue with the Crossref support, also with Cora and her colleagues, to support us and discuss the usage of fields that are maybe not in the standard scheme, but some that we still require from the publishers. For example, the usage of the assertion or the crossmark fields to share data that is not foreseen in the standard scheme, but still required from us. Yeah. If you could go to the next one, please. Oh, yeah. And in the end, yeah, coming to the evaluation, we used the Crossref API to check the completeness of this data that has been shared to Crossref for all these articles. And this completeness of the data has then been converted into points that publishers could get. The total of these points were 6, and from these 7 publishers that I mentioned in the beginning, 1 received all of these. But in general, we have seen a really wide range of results, coming also from the size of the different publishers and the, I don't want to say importance, but the role these journals play. So for some publishers, for example, it would be relatively easy to change the workflows. For others, if they have a really big portfolio, it is not as easy to adapt the changes we require. But yes, this is also the outlook. We are still in ongoing dialogue with all of the publishers. We have seen already some will to change and improve their workflows to include and complete their submissions. And yeah, we already started the period of collection, and then we'll evaluate the articles in the beginning of next year. You could go on to the next slide. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. So we share not all the results, but most of the results on our website, scope3.org. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask now or send us an email. That's it. Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you so much, Pia. That was fascinating, and good luck for the continuation of the project into next year. So I think next up we have Barbara Rivera, the community manager for the Barcelona Declaration. Barbara, over to you.
Thank you. Well, happy anniversary, Crossref, and congratulations to the new board members. I don't have the control, so I think I will have to stay next. Please confirm that. Well, I am the community manager of the Barcelona Declaration on Open Research Information. And next slide, please. Thank you. So just covering common ground, why is open research information important? Next slide, please. It's because well, what we consider research information is metadata, included funding information and information for use and impact, and is used in decision-making, assess effect on policies, and also in community and more wider registration, and also effect on policies for common people and for the society stakeholders at large. Next slide, please. So very quickly, if we have close information, we are using that to assess researchers with non-transparent evidence. We're making decisions on biased information, which it's against privileged language, geographical regions, and research agendas. And we are monitoring, okay, I have the control, sorry. We are monitoring open science using closed data. And in the left, you can see what happens when we have closed research information, and on the right, what happens is if we have open research information. So we are aiming to the right, of course. So we realized that all the changes that we want to make regarding open research information can't be made by universities, institutions alone. So we built a community that will actually change how research information works, and that's how the Barcelona Declaration started. And we are a collective commitment to make research information open, trusted, and reusable. For the signatories, there are 4 commitments that you can see here. Also, you can see they're wider on our website that was on the previous slide. These are some of the signatories: University of Milan, Claxo in the Latin American region, also Sorbonne University, among others. There are 125 organizations that have signed in 31 countries around the world. But there are also supporters who are, Crossref, of course, is one among them, with 52 organizations that provide data services and infrastructures that are formal supporters of the declaration. And here you have a selection of the 52. How are we making sure the transition to open research information is truly going to happen? We're aiming for change in different levels. And for that, we have developed a joint roadmap to make those changes happen. That roadmap was created in Paris last year. And then we touched bases this year in Bologna in May. And these collective actions has been put in action through 7 working groups. You can see all the themes in your left. This goes from journal metadata, institutional repositories, evidence of benefits, how to replace closed systems, and they're all coordinated by signatory organizations. They're very driven to concrete outcomes, and in these working groups, there are supporters and signatories that work together and collaborate to get these concrete outcomes. This is the joint roadmap. I'm not going to analyze this, but it is available in the Paris report. Well, now to answer Cora's question when she invited us, how are we, as the Barcelona Declaration, advancing open metadata? What have we done? What is the progress and the evidence to date in our roadmap? So there are 3 active working groups that are tackling key metadata areas. As you can see, working group 1, also working group 1 has a lot of subgroups. So one is a joint task force between Barcelona Declaration and OA 2020, which is called Negotiating Openness of Publication Metadata. Also on working group 2, we are developing a survey. I'm going to talk to you about that next. On institutional repository metadata creation and workflows. And also on working group 3, we are making the question of what funding metadata is and how it affects all the process of following and tracking research outputs for funders. Overall, on these working groups and task force, we have 115 participants from 91 institutions from 35 countries and 6 regions. So as you can see, the impact is quite global. And why this matters, working with metadata in our everyday development as this initiative, because we get some alignment, of course, optimization of processes. We want to achieve openness and then interoperability. This is, you can find a link there on this joint task force, which is a very important event that happened, and because we're trying not to duplicate and with other initiatives, so we are making these associations with Open OA 2020 and other initiatives. And from the collective activities that we have done in the Barcelona Declaration, for example, and the first week of October, we had the community roundtable on funding metadata, co-organized with Crossref. Thank you, Cora, for all your support there. Was called From Identifying Barriers to Finding Solutions. There was a group of 45 people, publishers, funders, government, technical providers, so different people from different stakeholders could come together and discuss on certain breakout rooms, and to develop this outcome of a blog post that is going to be published tomorrow on the Barcelona Declaration website, and a joint action plan. Also, we have developed joint sessions of mutual learning on the topics of sustainability and interoperability. That is some work done by Working Group 5. The participants were IOI, SOSI, SCOS, OpenAlex, OpenAir, and Open Citations. And we are going to share these sessions on the Barcelona Declaration YouTube channel, and some of these key insights are going to shape Working Group 5 next steps. That's the graphic of the...
Sorry, I just wanted to say, if you could wrap up in the next 5 minutes. Yes. I know that you still have a few slides to share, but we would like to let people have an option to ask a couple of questions still before we move on.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Cora. So also there are some surveys coming up. One on metadata framework survey to identify key metadata elements. Another survey on institutional repositories workflows. And we want to build evidence on what the signatories are doing, and that will strengthen the quality, consistency, and reusability of open research metadata. These are all the working groups. The working groups that I mentioned are not the only ones working with metadata, but are the most focused on that. And I'm wrapping up. So you can write us in Spanish, in English, to contact at Barcelona Declaration. You can follow us for updates on social media. And thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so I think we only can afford about 5 minutes for questions, but there was already one from Mohammed Ali. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. So I wonder, so the question was for Mr. Agon, could you share more details about the technical stack you're using for the automated metadata validation pipeline? What tools or programming languages are involved? So I think, Agon, if you'd like to unmute and say a few words to that, and perhaps some more technical details can be exchanged later on by email. I'm just checking if Agon is still with us.
It looks like Agon might have left.
Him. All right. Okay. I know that this question was shared with him ahead whilst he was still online, so I'm hoping that he will be able to respond. If there are any more questions in the chat or anyone would like to put it in the Q&A, please go ahead. In the meantime, I'm going to ask Pia Kramer if you are still around with us, actually, because I know that Pia has another meeting. Okay, well, it looks like Pia is also not around anymore.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I just couldn't see you. That's fine. Maybe it's just my connection still failing. I have a question for you about what's the appetite? What's the next thing on your agenda in terms of further metadata that you would hope to be requiring in the future?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. I mean, in terms of contract, we're kind of set. I don't want to lie to you, but at least for this year and for this evaluation period, we are going to stay with this. But we're always thinking into the future and seeing what is possible there. But as of now, I can't tell you direct names. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Okay. Well, thank you for coming in on that anyway. Are there any other questions anywhere in the chat? I can't see anything in the Q&A. All right. Well, in that case, I think we can move on to our metadata update from Patricia. There will be a couple of slides, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Great. So yeah, so I'm going to give a metadata update. I thought before I started with the new stuff, I'd just do a brief review of what we did earlier in the year. Just because we did do a bit earlier in the year, we made a few updates to the metadata we collect. We now accept ROR identifiers as funder identifiers. We've collected them in affiliations for a few years, but now they can be supplied in funding metadata in all supported schema versions, and also in the most recent version of our grant schema. We also released schema version 5.4. This update includes support for version metadata across all records types. So just to stress, it's best practice to register a new DOI for each version you create and connect each version with a version relationship in the metadata. So now there's no excuse if you haven't been doing that. You can include version numbers in everything. There is a new status field for preprints, and we've added publication typing for citations. And just briefly, this means this is the new piece of metadata you can supply with the citations you send to us. It allows citations to be better identified, particularly when a citation doesn't have a DOI that inherently identifies it. For example, you can label a citation as a data set, a software poster, blog post, things that are sometimes hard to identify just from the citation itself. This can help them be identified downstream a lot easier. So coming soon, we're working on a few things right now. What is in the works, we're adding support for adding grant DOIs to the funding data we collect. You can currently supply funder identifiers, ROR identifiers. You can supply the award identifiers or grant numbers, whatever you specifically call them. But we're adding a distinct option to send in a grant DOI within the metadata. When that's sent in, we'll add the finances relationship metadata, so that will be captured. We ultimately want this sort of information to be captured as relationships, but we've found that this funding metadata is often supplied in the funding data, and we want to make it easier for our publisher members to send this in to us. So we're adding this as a distinct option. So it made a lot of sense to call that out as its own element. So if a Crossref grant DOI is supplied, we'll also be able to make that relationship recursive. So that means we'll be able to insert that relationship into the corresponding grant metadata record. So that'll make that a very solid relationship. So coming early next year, we have some upcoming releases. We've done a lot of work on this already. And we were hoping to get this out of the doors sooner, but I think if you've been in this session for a while, you'll see that you've heard that we were doing a lot. So we didn't quite get it done, but we'll be able to get to it early this next year. We're going to release the 5.5 schema update. This will include support for the credit contributor vocabulary, and we will also be allowing multiple contributor roles. So that means you'll be able to hopefully more accurately reflect the contributions to research. I know a lot of members have been waiting for this for a while. And this schema is pretty much, well, the schema is ready, and I'm compiling an implementation guide well in advance that I'm going to start distributing. So if you really want to get started as soon as the schema is released, you'll be able to do so. Also, I'll be trying to hunt down some members to do some production testing for us when we're ready to do that. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to get in touch with me, or I will get in touch with you. We are also going to be releasing a grant schema. This will provide support for beneficiaries, which are often organizations. We're also adding repeatable roles. As with the research output schema, it makes sense that an investigator within a project will have different roles over the time of the project. So we're going to reflect that as well. We're adding support for project identifiers. Currently, the only one we'll support is RAID. And we'll also add support for different statements like acknowledgement and funder statements. Okay, so in late 2026, our next update will capture some other important things people have been waiting for. We're going to remodel the group contributor, currently called organization, in our schema. That will be remodeled to support organization identifiers. We also really want to remodel how names are handled. Currently, we support a given name and a family or surname, depending on whether you're looking at the input or output. It varies what it's called, with the surname being required. This doesn't, as many of you know, doesn't really reflect the reality of names, and it forces the names we collect to be recorded inaccurately in our metadata, which we don't want. Excuse me. So we're going to be making some changes to that, and I think it's time for a general overhaul. So I think we're going to just remodel it completely so we can better reflect the reality of names. We'll also be adding support for statements to this schema as well. So funding acknowledgement statements, data availability statements, and software availability statements. And we'll be adding expanded support for abstracts beyond just JATS markup, which is the only sort of markup we currently support. And we may pick up more things as we go along. There are always small updates that we will try to add in. If they don't require a lot of development, we will always try to add them in if we can. The other exciting recent development is that we have formed a metadata advisory group. It's comprised of members who send us metadata and members of the community who use our metadata. We're just getting started, but we are starting up some working groups to refine some things we want to add to our metadata, or refine that already exists in our metadata that we want to refine. So we're doing a working group on multilingual metadata. We have some basic language support in our schema. It's not comprehensive, but we have very limited multilingual metadata support. So we're going to see what we can do about that. We really want to support the deposit of subjects and keywords. That's been something people have been asking for a long time. I know there are like 43 bazillion different vocabularies, and it's going to be a challenge to figure out how best to manage that situation, but we really want to collect this metadata and distribute it. So we're going to do it. So that'll be exciting. And we also, we've been supporting relationships in our metadata since 2014. And we want to take a closer look at the relationships we currently support and maybe add some and refine the ones we currently support and provide some examples and use cases for those. We'll be just discussing some other topics as well. I think these topics will take some time to discuss before you start seeing them actually pop up in our metadata schema. But if you do want to keep up to date with our metadata development plans, there is a roadmap sorted by status where you can see plan development and other things we're considering. Finally, this is just a heads up, and it might sound very scary, but it's actually not very scary. We are going to begin deprecating some schema, actually, probably ultimately a lot of them. We haven't actually deprecated anything since 2007. We currently support a total of 27 schema. Most are backwards compatible. We did make a breaking change recently with affiliation metadata, but beyond that, we've just been building on the existing schema. We require very little metadata for most record types. We require just a title and publication year. We'd like to ask for more from our membership. We've been building a lot of infrastructure around helping our members send in good metadata. So I think at this point, it's not too much to ask for just some more basic metadata that we know everyone has. So I'd like to maybe tighten up our schema a little more and address with schema going forward some ongoing issues that we've been dealing with, and start deprecating some of the older schema. Like I mentioned, some things like names need to be modeled differently. Some things like titles really need to be modeled differently to handle languages. We have also a large number of record types and would like to consolidate. We may keep certain record type structures like for journal articles and books because they've been in existence for a while and are based on other standards like JATS. But overall, I think a more simple, consistent structure would benefit us all going forward. So this won't be an abrupt change, and there will be more details forthcoming. It'll be a multi-year effort, so nothing's going to be taken away soon. But just for now, if you don't know what schema version your organization is using and you're sending us metadata, maybe you should check. The earliest version we support now is 4.3.0, and a surprising number of our members are still using that. So all I'm asking for right now is awareness, and then we'll be sending out more details as we move forward with our schema deprecation plan. All right. That's about all I have, and I guess we can move on to data science now.
Thank you, Patricia. And all right, Dominika, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. My name is Dominika Tkaczyk. I am the Director of Technology at Crossref. And for the next, let's say, 20 minutes or so, we will focus on only one part of our technology team, the data science part. It is, in fact, the newest addition to the technology team. The data science team is only a few months old, but I'm happy to say that we didn't really have any trouble filling the next couple of minutes with plenty of content. Great. But before we get to that, I would like to start very briefly with just a little bit of context. As you all know, and we discussed a lot of that earlier today, Crossref has been around for many years. What's perhaps slightly less well known is that it operated for much of the time without a data science team. So what suddenly made us decide we just couldn't live without it? Well, the reason was simply data, and in particular, the scale and complexity of data we deal with these days. Over the last few years, we have observed a lot of growth of the scholarly community in general, and this has been reflected in the increase in the volume and variety of the data we collect, store, and process. Some example numbers showing the current scale you can see on the slide. So on the one hand, this overall growth opens new possibilities for using the data to better understand the scholarly landscape, to serve our community better, to develop better services, and to make better, more informed decisions. And on the other hand, it forces us to address a set of challenges related to the scale and complexity of the data. And as a very specific example, most numbers you see on the slide were calculated in an environment that my colleague Alex will present in just a couple of minutes. And this 247,000 missing connections is an example of a metadata gap that can be filled by something my other colleague Jason will talk about right after that. So this is exactly where data science comes to play. So what exactly does the data science team at Crossref do? Well, essentially, the team uses scientific research and data science to deliver, assess, improve, and enrich scholarly metadata. This can be done directly by, for example, researching metadata enrichment strategies, and also less directly, for example, by analyzing REST API usage logs to improve the system stability over time. Whatever the strategy might be, the overall goal is always to make sure that the metadata captures the research ecosystem as well as possible, essentially bringing us closer and closer to the research nexus. We find it useful to think of our data science work in two themes or categories, one being data analysis and insights, and the second is data services and workflows. The goal of the first category is to broaden our understanding of the scholarly record and our community and help Crossref make decisions in a better data-informed way without necessarily trying to create any specific application or product. For data services and workflows, the goal is to apply data science to build and maintain Crossref production services, tools, and workflows. And we've been already working on a few projects belonging to the first category, for example, related to analyzing how much overlap there is between different scholarly databases, looking into how well the OIs resolve, and comparing the metadata deposited with us with the full text PDFs. Today, we would like to focus on two longer-term fundamental projects that fall into the second category. So Alex will talk about building an internal environment for efficient data processing, and then Jason will talk about the metadata matching service and strategies. Alex, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Dominika, for that lovely intro. So I'm Alex, and today I'll present briefly the groundwork our data science team has laid so that we can work efficiently with our data. So first, I want to talk about where we started from. In short, the reality is our starting data ecosystem is rich, but it's splintered across many silos, such as the Crossref REST API, various internal logs, production systems, and a handful of external data sources. Each source is extremely valuable, yet it's isolated. And that fragmentation hinders us in three different ways. First, it makes discovery very hard. So finding usable, fresh data takes a lot of time. Second, integration of those data sources is slow. So every new source forces us to learn its schema, format, quality rules, and then if it goes unused for a period of time, we might need to relearn all of that the next time we use the source. And third, the required transformations to actually use the data can be heavy. So raw records can need a lot of cleaning before they're usable with confidence. And so overall, these constraints make it difficult to prototype and answer questions quickly. So the question now became, how do we solve those pain points? So the answer that we came up with is that we built a data lake, which is a central cloud-based repository that pulls data from every system in the organization, catalogs it, and records metadata such as load time, the source, all of those things. And this is what the diagram on this slide shows. The four separate silos from the last slide now stream into the lake at the center. And from the lake, there flow two primary streams. So the first is analytics and reporting. And this is where we run projects that report on things like metadata quality and usage, and that can be used to drive decisions, both internally and for the community. The second is data science. Their models and algorithms sit directly on the lake's clean cataloged data, and the results then feed back into production, completing a kind of continuous loop of data, with all of the metadata staying current at every step. Now, let's dive a little deeper in the advantages that come with a data lake. Now, the first is speed of execution. So once cataloged, there's no repeated prep to be done for any data set. So this means that data scientists can pull ready data and go from question to insight much faster. The second is flexibility. Basically, everyone at Crossref could be given access to the same reliable data with no silos or reliance on any specific tool. So then collaboration becomes the default rather than the exception. And because the lake stores historical snapshots, it enables time travel, which lets us query any past state of the data for audit, debugging, or simply reanalysis. The third is cost efficiency. So past the efficiency gains, here basically storage and compute are separate. So this means that we can boot up powerful machines to do data processing only when they are truly needed to run computations, unlike in a traditional database where we would need to basically run very costly servers all the time. And finally, security. So having a centralized data catalog also makes having central access controls much easier. And so this helps ensure that users see exactly what they're permitted to, and it simplifies data quality and privacy checks, which ensures down the line that we make responsible and very safe use of all of our data assets. Now, let me give you a quick example of what we can do now that we have the data lake in place. So imagine we want to answer a question that's not possible to answer only with the REST API. And the example here is, what fraction of members have been depositing works with references metadata over the years? With the lake, the needed fields, which are member ID, work type, the deposit date, references, live in a single searchable catalog. So this makes it so a simple Python script can pull the data, aggregate by member and time window, and output the relevant share of depositors at any historical point, as is shown here. This functionality of the data lake is also what made generating the statistics that Ed showed in his opening talk this morning possible. And because the lake auto-updates, those same queries can be run tomorrow or next year automatically, and it would automatically reflect new deposits and any updates, which provides basically instant reusable insights without having to rebuild a pipeline. Now I want to close my small part of this presentation by showing you what this work will actually bring you, our community. First, we can with this reinvent reporting and dashboarding. So we're currently already rebuilding resolution reports from the data lake, and we have many, many ideas for the future. Second is ongoing monitoring to ensure the integrity of the scholarly record, where having up-to-date access to all of our relevant data at once is paramount to spotting issues before they become major. And finally, the lake will be the backbone that accelerates all of our data-driven initiatives, such as building a stronger research nexus and opening doors to deeper research. It will also enable us to compute indicators in a way that reduces the burden on our existing systems. So while I believe that the architecture itself is a technical achievement, its real value will lie in the measurable benefits that will be making their way to you in various streams. So that's all I have to share for now. So thank you for your attention, and I'll hand it over to Jason for the next part of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Alex. I'm just going to be talking a little bit about our metadata matching project, building a service and implementing strategies to do matching. It's going to be just a very brief taste of it, but there'll be plenty more to come in the future on our website and in other presentations. So you can stay tuned for that. Just to introduce what we're talking about here, the idea of matching is the concept of taking some information about an item and matching it to that item's identifier. That's a pretty broad idea, and it's a broad project, but to put it into a bit more specific context, bibliographic reference matching is one example of a matching task, one that we're already doing, and we have been doing. So in this case, the information about the item is a bibliographic reference, a citation. It's a string, a text representation of some words that are some semi-structured in a way that citations can be. And the matching task here is to find the DOI of that reference. And in so doing, we can link the original citing article to the cited article in a systematic way using the DOI. Another matching task, example of a matching task is funder matching. So this is the idea of matching, in this case, funder names, which come in with the deposit of works and are matched to a ROR ID for a funding organization. In this case, Millersville University Faculty Grants and Sabbatical Leave Program is the raw text that came in the deposit, and the result of the matching task will be the ROR ID for Millersville University here. There's some other yes. So those were two examples. Here are several more, all of which we're going to be tackling here at Crossref. And this is a non-exhaustive list, but as I said, reference strings can be matched to DOIs, affiliations, and funders. Both can be matched to ROR IDs. So those are research organizations that can be connected to research papers by affiliation, connected to research projects and via grants through funders, and we can take information such as the name coming in, location, maybe some others, and match those to a ROR ID. Grant matching is another one. We can take our grant metadata and match that to a structured grant DOI. Preprint matching is another important one. If we have the ability to link a research paper to its preprint using information such as titles, authors, etc., and then linking the preprint DOI with the published DOI and including that in the enriched metadata. So why bother doing this matching task ourselves? The best source of matching of the metadata relationships that we have are ones that are already being deposited by Crossref members, and so the deposits allow for including these identifiers already, but there is a lot that we're missing, and this is what we call the metadata gaps. So this you can see on the top right. We have well, the whole graph represents our over 1 billion citation data that we have, references from one work to another. And in the top right, you can see about 843 million already have DOIs, which were supplied by Crossref members. Now, of the remaining ones, we are already matching about 990 million with an additional 718 million that can't be matched to a DOI. Again, this is something that we are already doing, and it provides a an enriched representation of the scholarly record. These are organizational assertions, including affiliation data, a bit, also a few other ways that organizations can be linked to works. But the goal, our long-term goal, is to have all of these linked to the ROR database, to have ROR IDs connected to them. As you can see, we only have 1 million right now that are actually deposited by Crossref members, and something we are going to be doing very soon. We've already done the work to do this, but it hasn't been yet incorporated into the data. But this is what the matching project is heading towards, an additional 95 million ROR IDs that could be automatically matched based on the unstructured names that we have coming in. And just to reiterate, it's never going to be perfect, and there are 36 million that still can't be matched. But there is this huge gap that we have a great opportunity to identify these relationships. Now, the core reason that we want to do this is to give us a more complete research nexus. The relationships between entities, between papers, between authors, organizations, funders, this is crucial to our vision of the research nexus. And the more complete and accurate our scholarly record is, the closer we can get to achieving our vision. For the matching project, our goals are to build a dedicated matching service that we will use to enrich the metadata as much as possible. It will use flexible and transparent matching strategies that are open source, open to the community, and also have a framework for community participation in developing, building on these strategies, developing new ones. And they will be thoroughly and openly evaluated using evaluation data sets, precision and recall metrics to actually identify how well we're doing in matching them. And these results will all be available in the REST API. Now, we are already doing a lot of matching, but this project will get us a lot closer to achieving those goals of doing it in a more rigorous way, a more open and transparent way. We are building a service. We're starting with funder matching, and we've developed and evaluated a strategy which matches funder names to ROR IDs. We are designing and building the matching service, which will enrich the data with these new matches. And that's going to be coming very soon. We have this website or page on our website right now that'll keep updates on it. And yeah, please stay tuned for more about it. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason, Dominica, and Alex. Oh, I've got slide control. Thank you, everyone. I hope I have placated the gods of internet and network connection, and we'll be able to present in a very brief while some updates about our resourcing Crossref for future sustainability. As this is our 25th anniversary, we would love to hope that, we'll have another in 25 years, and to be able to, for this to come to that, obviously we would like to make sure that we are resourced appropriately. This is a project that is reviewing our source of income, and especially different types of fees that Crossref is receiving from members and others in the community, to make sure that they are fit for purpose, both in terms of community and the needs of kind of making Crossref sustainable. The project has 3 goals: to provide more equitable fee structure, And in that case, in that sense, we had two projects to review this, since last year that we were working on. One is about evaluating our before or up until now lowest fee tier of $275 annual membership fee for members up to between $0 and $1 million revenue or expenses for their publishing. And the second project was about defining a new basis for sizing and tiering our members in their capacity to pay the said membership fees. We also have the goal to simplify complex fees, and in that sense, we are reviewing our content registration fees and specifically the various different discounts that exist. And the final goal is to try and rebalance our revenue sources, especially between those coming from our members from the membership fees and content registration fees, and that of for metadata usage from other users in the community for the retrieval of said metadata that our members are registering with the system. So here we go. In this context, I think it's worth to mention the current count of different members across all our tiers. As you have seen on Amanda's slide before, we have more than 23,000 members at the moment. And thanks to the new fee tier that I'm going to say a few words more about in a minute. So this graph already shows that more than 3,000 members have already moved to the new $200 fee tier for organizations that are on expenses or revenue for the publishing of up to $1,000. Here we go. So as I said, we reviewed the fee basis and we explored options for overall revenue expenses versus the publishing revenue expenses. You might remember at the annual meeting last year, we had a big discussion about this. And the decision was to keep the publishing revenue and expenses as the basis for the publishing members, obviously members and non-members, and review of funder fee basis is still underway, as those have been kind of set a bit differently, and obviously they rarely have publishing revenue and expenses, so that wouldn't be appropriate. The pricing structure, as I mentioned, we have a new membership fee tier. Our board has approved that with a decision in July, and we're in kind of progress of implementing that change to kick in from the 1st of January 2026. If there are any members on the line that think that this new fee tier might apply to them because they are members joining us directly, so not via a sponsor, and are on revenue or expenses of up to $1,000 then or below $1,000, then please let us know, preferably responding to one of the emails that you would have hopefully received, to tell us to move you to the new membership tier. As you can see, more than 3,000 organizations have already done so. There is a slight discrepancy between this slide and the graph because the graph information is, I think, the freshest, and this is from a few days ago, and we're working through a number of requests as we speak. So the record registration fee discounts have been reviewed as well, and as you may remember or recall from earlier announcements, again in July the board has signed off on removal of all of our volume discount fees from the 1st of January 2026. And we are currently in progress of doing some more research about underused content types in terms of the appropriateness of removing backfile discounts on those. And specifically, we're here focused on theses and dissertations and also, to an extent, conference proceedings. In the process, we've also normalized peer review charges, which have previously counted as a type of a discount, when in fact we just established that peer review fees should just have their own status. And at the moment, the peer review fee will be 25 cents for the first review of the work, and then every subsequent reviews by the same member of the same work will be free. So in terms of our progress on the goals that have already been set, we have indeed created a new fee tier and we'll be monitoring the progress of that through the next year to be able to tell whether there are any further steps that we can take. We have looked into defining a new basis for sizing and tiering members for their capacity to pay in a different way, but the decision for that was actually that the current basis is still appropriate for our community. And we've also made progress on adjusting the discounts in terms of, well, we decided to discontinue volume discounts for content registration. And we're still investigating the back file discounts for content registrations. And there are a number of different approaches to looking into our metadata services that we provide. So metadata plus fees that have been mentioned before, but also are different ways of providing the metadata to the community in the first place as well. So there is a lot of investigations going into that. And obviously, as they come forward, we'll make updates on those as well to everyone. So in terms of what's next, we will be implementing the charges, as I've mentioned, and research the thesis and dissertation registration with institutional members. We will also we're in process of talking with our funders about reviewing those fees, and we're making considerations about our REST API services, as well as potentially looking into other projects that have been originally recommended as part of the resourcing Crossref for future sustainability in the report that we received at the start of this work. So at this point, it remains it's just the point when I will hand over to you for the final remarks of today.
Thank you very much, Cora. So if you've been on for the whole time, congratulations. Thank you for staying on. But I want to say a huge thank you today to all the speakers, and they've really helped convey a lot of really important information about Crossref, and it's been great to see the input from the community about the practical impact of Crossref and the different implementations. So we've had a lot today, so I won't say anything else. We've had some good questions. We might actually follow up on some of them after the meeting as well. But I will just close the meeting today. We have day 2 tomorrow, and congratulations to the newly elected and re-elected board members. I think the process of community governance, as Lisa and Lucy outlined earlier, is really critical, and that's the big part of Crossref's success, that it's arisen out of the community and we're community governed. So a huge thank you to the board members, and again, just once again, thanks to everybody for their contributions today from all the speakers. So with that, 2 minutes to the hour, I will call the meeting to a close. And thank you very much, everybody. And if you've been listening on video at 2 times speed, goodbye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.